Hello, everybody! Welcome to Warrior Cat Wednesday, where we read Warrior Cats. But to answer Ash's question right off the bat, yes, we will still be doing Stream Raiders because I figure we're on a grind, you know? We have a goal. We have a goal set. So why not do it every single day, you know? So we're gonna set up that right off the bat, okay? Very easy. Wait, which one's better? Ooh, look at this place. Okay. There we go. Okay. If you press the link, you can add a little guy every single 5 minutes. Every single 5 minutes. Yeah. And I will, if they... Yeah, the bot's been there the whole time. Affiliate grind! The wiggle! You like my wiggle? I haven't been able to show it off very much, but I got the wiggle. It's like... Yay! Kiss, 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 kiss! It's the one that all the big ones. I wonder if that's Soul or Tawny Pelt. Oh. I don't actually know. I had already always assumed it was Soul. But let me see. Let me read the... There's a description for Soul. White and brown, tabby, long-haired Tom with pale yellow eyes. I mean, he doesn't look long-haired. And he's not just white. But he does have pale yellow eyes. Let's read... Shadow Clan. Tawny Pelt. Tortoiseshell she-cat with green eyes. I guess... maybe the description is just really bad and inaccurate. That could happen. Then who is this stranger? I don't know. What if it's Fallen Leaves? I don't know what Fallen Leaves looks like, actually. Fallen leaves, fallen leaves, falling leaves on the ground. Orange and white. Aww. That makes sense. He's called Fallen Leaves because he's the color of the leaves when they fall. Aww, so cute. Alright. Let us begin. So, like every Warrior Cat Wednesday, we will read. Yep, that's what Warrior Cat Wednesday is. I'm only saying this because I know there might be a few people from my Ultra Kill streams that are here, and they're like, what's happening? Where's Ultra Kill? Or gaming? I take a day of the week, which is Warrior Cat. Which is Wednesday, not Warrior Cat. Which is Wednesday where I just read. Last time... Jewels! Last time... Oh! Oh no, we can't properly appreciate the little thing. There. Oh my gosh, your icon is so perfect for this Pride. Because it's like transparent. Hehehe. So cute! Did you see it? I set that up last stream. So now you have a cute little icon. So everybody who fishes gets like this silly little icon. It's really cute. But yes, so we finished a book last stream. Now it's a giant logo when I fish with a hat. I think yesterday there was at least 3 chapters worth posted. Really? A fish? Look at that Magikarp. When we start a new book, I don't summarize what happened in the previous book because the books do a pretty good job at summarizing everything that happened in the previous book, so I just start reading. But first, I'm gonna crack open a Coca-Cola. It's a very small Coca-Cola. Ooh, a perch. Okay. Prologue. Wind swept across the bleak moorland, carrying with it flurries of rain. The tough grass was sodden and water had burst the banks of a stream, spreading out in a wide pool. Its surface bubbled as raindrops splashed onto it. At the edge of the pool, a badger crouched, apparently oblivious to the icy wind and rain. For a long time she gazed into the water as if she could see something there, beyond the broken reflection of gray cloud. Then she raised her head and looked around. "I have come," she announced. A black she-cat emerged from behind an outcrop of rocks. She was barely more than a shadow. Starlight flickered at her paws. She was followed by a silvery gray tom whose green eyes stretched wide as he approached the badger. The starlight that shone around him made him seem a cat formed out of rain. "Why are we here?" The silver tom's voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't used it for a long time. "On a day like this, we should be curled up in a warm den." "True, River," the black she-cat meowed. "Whose idea was it to drag us out here in weather not even fit for foxes?" "Mine." A third cat appeared from behind a gorse bush, a broad-shouldered ginger tom with white paws. Starlight gleamed in his amber eyes as he seemed as insubstantial as a flame. "As you know very well, Shadow, we have to meet." Shadow snorted. "I don't have to do anything you tell me, Thunder." Thunder dipped his head. "Of course not. But we have been summoned by the danger to our clans. They are on the brink of being lost forever, and it's your fault, Midnight." His voice sharpened. Before Midnight could reply, River spoke. "Where is the wind? We can't discuss this. Where is Wind? We can't discuss this without her." "I'm here." The voice came from further up the stream. The wiry brown she-cat was barely visible against the drenched moorland grass. Only the shimmer of silvery light around her revealed her outline. She sprang down the slope towards the pool, her paws scarcely touching the ground. "Why are you all huddling here like a lost kit?" she asked, a hint of mockery in her tone. "It's only a bit of wind and rain." Shadow opened her jaws, but Thunder interrupted her. "We're not all used to living in the open, Wind. But that doesn't matter now. We need to know why Midnight has revealed the secrets of the clans." "But why us?" River complained, shivering. "There are younger cats than us in StarClan. Why call us back from the very beginning?" "Wait, are these? Wait. They're like River Clan, Shadow Clan, Thunder Clan, Wind Clan, but their names are just those." Wow. Oh, actually, your icon is very good for this new thing. Wind nodded. "Haven't we done enough? We formed the clans and guided them through their first seasons. They have owed us a debt in all these moons since we walked the forest." "We must still watch over our clans," Thunder murmured. "This is a danger like none they have ever faced before." He turned to the badger. "Midnight, why did you tell our secrets?" "Yes, and tell them to that... What? Yes, and tell them to that mange-ridden, crow-food-eating loner." Shadow spat, tearing at the grass with her claws. My clan have abandoned their warrior ancestors since he forced his way among them. On sandy cliffs, I met Soul. Midnight began calmly. First time of meeting, that was. And why do you give away secrets to every stranger who happens to pad by? Wind growled. Can't you see that you gave him power over the clans when you told him so much about us? Thunder pressed. Knowledge not always power, Midnight replied. Clans not need secrecy to protect themselves. Rogue and loners stay away. They know clan life is not for them. This loner didn't stay away, River pointed out. Clans not need hide, Midnight insisted. If did, not strong enough to meet challenges from outside. My warriors can meet any challenges, Wind snapped. Challenges not always from teeth and sharpened claw, the badger commented. Wind let out a hiss. Her neck fur bristled as she unsheathed her claws. Don't talk to me as if I'm stupid. You're only trying to avoid admitting that you made a huge mistake. The warriors of StarClan revealed their secrets to you, and you told them to a stranger. There wouldn't be any trouble in ShadowClan right now if it wasn't for you. Midnight rose to her paws. Sheath your claws, small warrior. Her voice was a rumbling growl. Stupid is to pick fights with someone not in your enemy. For a few heartbeats, Wind stood her ground, only stepping back and sheathing her claws when Thunder rested his tail on her shoulder. Quarreling won't help, the first ever ThunderClan leader meowed. The secrets are out. We have to decide what we can do now to help our clans. River shook his head. Well, I don't know. Nor do I. Shadow lashed her tail in frustration. I'd like to rip the throat out of this ungrateful badger, but it's too late to change anything. We don't understand, Thunder meowed, meeting Midnight's gaze. We shared our secrets with you, and you have done so much for our clans. Why would you destroy them like this? Before he had finished speaking, the wind picked up, and the starry cats began to fade. Blown away like mist, Midnight watched them with berry-bright eyes until their frail forms were gone and the glimmer of starlight had died away. A cat emerged from behind a wind-blown bush a few tail lengths away, a hairless cat with bulging, sightless eyes. You heard, Rock? Midnight asked. Rock nodded. I knew the clan leaders would be unhappy that you confided in Soul, he rasped, but you had no choice. The power of 3 is coming, and the clans must be ready. What? That makes it seem like the power of 3 is dangerous, like a bad thing. The power of 3 is coming, and the clans must be ready. Spooky. Chapter 1. Heck of an opening. Yeah, right? When I read these books, I never read the prologues. I was anti-prologue. I was like, well, if it's not chapter 1, why am I reading it? So reading them now is really cool. I know, it was silly. The moon was huge, a golden circle resting on a dark ridge of hills. Stars blazed above Hollyleaf's head, reminding her that the spirits of her ancestors were watching over her. Her fur prickled as something stirred on the ridge. A cat had appeared there, outlined against the moon. She recognized the broad head and tufted ears, and the tail with its bushy tip. Even though the shape was black against the light, she knew the colors of its pelt, white with brown, black, and ginger blotches. Soul! She hissed. The outlined shape arched its back, then reared up on its hind paws. Its forepaws stretched out as if it were about to rake its claws across the sky. It leaped upward, and as it leapt, it swelled until it was so huge that it blotted out the moon and the blazing stars. Hollyleaf crouched, shivering, in darkness thicker than the deepest places of the forest. Screeches of alarm rose up around her, a whole clan of hidden cats wailing their fear of the shadow cutting them off with their protective gaze of StarClan. Above the noise, a single voice rang out. Hollyleaf! Hollyleaf! Come out! Hollyleaf thrashed in terror and found her paws tangled in soft moss and bracken. Pale gray light was filtering through the branches of the warrior's den. A couple of fox lengths away, Hazeltail was scrambling out of her nest, shaking scrapes of moss from her pelt. Hollyleaf! That call came again, and this time Hollyleaf recognized Birchfall's voice, meowing irritably outside the den. Are you gonna sleep all day? We're supposed to be hunting. Coming. Groggy with sleep, every hair on her pelt still quivering from her nightmare, Hollyleaf headed towards the nearest gap between the branches. Before she reached it, her paws stumbled over the haunches of a sleeping cat, half hidden under the bracken. Cloudtail's head popped up. Great StarClan, he grumbled. Can't a cat get any sleep around here? Sorry, Hollyleaf stammered, remembering that Cloudtail had been out on a late patrol the night before. She had seen him return to camp with Dustpelt and Sorreltail while she was keeping her warrior vigil. Ooh, it's only been a day. Just my luck. My first day and I managed to annoy one of the senior warriors. Cloudtail snorted and curled up again, his blue eyes closing as he buried his nose into his fur. It's okay, Hazeltail murmured, brushing her muzzle against Hollyleaf's shoulder. Cloudtail's mew is worse than his scratch. But don't let Birchfall ruffle your fur. He's bossy with the new warriors, but you'll soon get used to it. Hollyleaf nodded gratefully, though she didn't tell Hazeltail the real reason she was thrown off balance. Birchfall didn't bother her. It was the memory of the dream that throbbed through her from ears to tail tip, making her paws clumsy and her thoughts troubled. Her gaze drifted to the nest where her brother, Line Blaze now, had curled up at the end of his vigil. She wanted to talk to him more than anything, but the nest was empty. Line Blaze must have gone out on the dawn patrol. Careful where she put her paws, Hollyleaf pushed her way out of the den behind Hazeltail. Outside, Birchfall was scrapping the ground impatiently. At last, he snapped. What kept you? Take it easy, Birchfall. Brambleclaw, the ThunderClan deputy and Hollyleaf's father, was sitting a tail length away with his tail wrapped neatly around his paws. His amber eyes were calm. The prey won't run away. Not till they see us, anyway, Sandstorm added as she bounded across from the fresh kill pile. If there is any prey, Birchfall lashed his tail. Ever since the battle, fresh kill's been much harder to find. Hollyleaf's grumbling belly told her that Birchfall was right. Several sunrises ago, all 4 clans had battled in ThunderClan territory. Their screeching and trampling had frightened off all their prey, or driven them deep underground. Maybe the prey will start to come back now, she suggested. Maybe, Brambleclaw agreed. We'll head towards the ShadowClan border. There wasn't much of a fight over there. Hollyleaf stiffened at the mention of ShadowClan. Will I see Soul again? She wondered. I wonder if we'll see any ShadowClan cats, Birchfall meowed, echoing her thoughts. I'd like to know if they're all going to turn their back on StarClan and follow that weirdo loner instead. Hollyleaf felt as if stones were dragging her in her belly, weighing her down. ShadowClan had not appeared at the last gathering 2 nights before. Instead, their leader Blackstar had come alone except for Soul, the loner who had recently arrived by the lake, and explained that his cats no longer believed in the power of their warrior ancestors. But that can't be right. How could a clan survive without StarClan, without the warrior code? Soul's not such a weirdo, Hazeltail pointed out to Birchfall with a flick of her ears. He predicted that the sun would vanish, and it did. None of the medicine cats knew that was going to happen. Birchfall shrugged. The sun came back, didn't it? It's not that big of a deal. In any case, Brambleclaw interrupted, raising to his paws. This is a good hunting patrol. We're not going to pay a friendly visit to ShadowClan. But they fought beside us, Birchfall objected. WindClan and RiverClan would have turned us into crow food without the ShadowClan warriors. We can't be enemies so soon again, can we? Not enemies, Sandstorm corrected, but they're still a different clan. Besides, I'm not sure we can be friends with cats who reject StarClan. What about our own cats, then? Hollyleaf didn't dare to ask that question out loud. Cloudtail's never believed in StarClan. But she knew without question Cloudtail was a loyal warrior who would die for any of his clanmates. Brambleclaw said nothing, just gave his pelt a quick shake and kinked his tail to beckon the rest of the patrol. As they headed towards the thorn tunnel, they met Brickenfur pushing his way into the hollow with Sorreltail and Lion Blaze behind him. The Dawn Patrol had returned. As all three cats headed for the fresh kill pile, Hollyleaf darted across and intercepted her brother. Wait, wasn't Sorreltail on the night patrol? Inconsistency. How did it go? Is there anything to report? Lion Blaze's jaw parted with a huge yawn. He must be exhausted, Hollyleaf thought, after keeping his warrior vigil and then being chosen for the Dawn Patrol. Not a thing, he mewed, shaking his head. All's quiet on the WindClan border. We're going over to ShadowClan territory. Alone with her brother, Hollyleaf could confess how worried she was. I'm scared we'll meet Soul. What if he tells the other cats about the prophecy? Lion Blaze pressed his muzzle into his shoulder. Come on. Is it likely that Soul will be doing border patrols? He'll be lying around the ShadowClan camp, stuffing himself with fresh kill. Hollyleaf shook her head. I don't know. I just wish we'd never told him anything. So do I. Lion Blaze's eyes narrowed and his tone was bitter as he went on. But it's not like Soul is bothered about us. He decided to stay with Blackstar, didn't he? He promised to help us after we told him about the prophecy, but he soon changed his mind. We're better off without him. Hollyleaf swiped her tongue over her brother's ear. Hollyleaf! She spun around to see Brambleclaw waiting beside the entrance to the thorn tunnel, the tip of his tail twitching impatiently. I've got to go, she meowed to Lion Blaze, and raced across the clearing to join Brambleclaw. Sorry, she gasped and plunged into the tunnel. The morning had been raw and cold, but as Hollyleaf padded through the forest with her clanmates, the clouds began to clear away. Long claws of sunlight pierced the branches, tipping the leaves with fire where they had changed from green to red and gold. Leaffall was almost upon them. Brambleclaw led his patrol away from the lake towards the ShadowClan border, keeping well clear of the old two-leg path and the abandoned nest where the clans had fought their battle. Tasting the air in hope of finding a squirrel or a plump mouse, Hollyleaf caught a stale trace of her own and her littermate's scents, lingering from the trek across the forest to find Soul. She hoped that none of the patrol would notice, especially not Brambleclaw and Sandstorm, because that would be an awkward question she wasn't sure she could answer. To her relief, the other cats seemed too intent on tracking prey to notice. Sandstorm raised her tail for silence, and Hollyleaf could hear the crisp sounds of a thrush knocking a snail shell against a stone. Peering over a clump of bracken, she spotted the bird, a fine fat one with its back turned to the group of cats, too intent on its own prey to realize that hunters were creeping up on it. Sandstorm dropped into a hunter's crouch and glided over the forest floor, pausing to waggle her haunches before the final pounce. The movement alerted the thrush, dropping the snail. It let out an alarm call and launched himself into the air. But Sandstorm was too fast for it. With an enormous leap, she clawed it out of the air in a flurry of wings. It went limp, and she bit down hard on its neck. Brilliant catch, Hazeltail mewed. Not bad, Sandstorm purred, scratching earth over her prey until she could collect it later. Hollyleaf picked up the scent of a mouse and followed it along a bramble thicket until she spotted the little creature scuffling among the debris beneath the outer branches. A couple of heartbeats later, she had her own prey to bury beside Sandstorm's. Brambleclaw was clawing earth over a vole. He gave her an approved nod. Well done, Hollyleaf. Carry on like this and the clan will soon be full fed. He stalked off into a hazel thicket, his jaws parted to pick up the faintest traces of prey. For a few heartbeats, Hollyleaf stood looking after her father, his praise warming her. Casting about for more prey, she picked up the trail of a squirrel, but as she rounded the trunk of a huge oak, she spotted Hazeltail ahead of her, following the same scent. There was no sign of the squirrel, but the trail led straight towards ShadowClan's border. Hollyleaf could already make out the scent of the border markings, but Hazeltail seemed too preoccupied with her hunt to notice. Hey, Hazeltail, don't... Hollyleaf broke off as three cats emerged from a clump of bracken on the other side of the border. Hazeltail was only a couple of tail lengths away. Startled, she halted, her ears flicking up in surprise. Relief surged through her. Relief surged through Hollyleaf as she recognized the newcomers, Ivytail, Snaketail, and his apprentice, Scorchpaw. All three of them had fought on ThunderClan's side in the battle. Hollyleaf could still see gashes along Ivytail's side, and Scorchpaw's ears was torn. They surely wouldn't be angry with a Hazeltail coming right up to the border. "Hi," she meowed as she bounded up to stand beside Hazeltail. "How's the prey running in ShadowClan?" "Keep back!" Hazeltail spat. "You have no right to come into ShadowClan territory. Just because we helped you in the battle doesn't make us allies." "Typical ThunderClan," Snaketail added, his voice a low snarl, thinking every cat is their friend. "And what's wrong with that?" Hollyleaf demanded, stung by their hostility. No cat had answered her question. Instead, Ivytail stalked up to the border until she was nose to nose with Hazeltail. Dang, all of them have tail last names. "What do you think you're doing this close to the border?" "I was tracking a squirrel." Hazeltail sounded bewildered. "But—" "Prey stealing!" Snaketail interrupted, the fur on his shoulders fluffing up in anger and his striped tail lashing. "We were not," Hollyleaf mewed indignantly. "We're still on ThunderClan's territory, in case you hadn't noticed. Hazeltail hasn't crossed our border." "Only because we turned up in time to stop her," Snaketail growled. Rustling sounded from the undergrowth behind Hollyleaf. She whipped around to see Brambleclaw and Sandstorm approaching, with Birchfall just behind. "Thanks, StarClan," she murmured. Brambleclaw padded forward until he stood beside Hollyleaf and Hazeltail. "Greetings," he mewed, dipping his head to the three ShadowClan cats. "What's going on here?" "We had to stop these warriors of yours," the ShadowClan cat explained. "Another couple of heartbeats and they would have crossed our border." "That's not true!" Hollyleaf exclaimed hotly. "I was tracking a squirrel." Hazeltail faced the ThunderClan deputy with an apologetic look in her eye. "I did forget where I was for a moment, but Hollyleaf warned me, and then the ShadowClan patrol appeared. I promise I never set a paw over the border." Brambleclaw nodded. "You're as close to the border on your side as we are on... You're as close to the border on your side as we are on ours," he pointed out to the ShadowClan cats, "but no cat is accusing you of trying to cross." "We're on border patrol," Snaketail flashed back at him, "and it's just as well we came along when we did." "No cat can trust ThunderClan," Scorchpaw added, padding up beside his mentor. Birchfall let out a hiss of fury, thrusting his way through the long grass until he halted beside the ThunderClan deputy. "Brambleclaw, are you going to stand there and let an apprentice insult our clan when we haven't done anything wrong?" Sandstorm flicked his shoulder with her tail. "That's enough, Birchfall. Let Brambleclaw handle this." The younger warrior let out a snort of disgust. He said nothing more, but stood glaring at the ShadowClan patrol. "Birchfall's right," Hollyleaf protested. "These cats are just trying to make trouble. We haven't broken the warrior code." "Oh, the precious warrior code." Ivytail's voice was full of scorn. "You think it's the answer to everything, but you're wrong. The warrior code didn't stop the sun from banishing, did it?" "Right." Snaketail supported his clanmates. "Maybe it's time the clan stopped being so obsessed with dead cats and started looking for other answers instead." Hollyleaf stared at them in dismay. She knew that these thoughts came from Soul. Was this what the strange cat had wanted all along? To destroy the warrior code from the inside of the clans? He meant to start with us. Hollyleaf remembered how friendly and helpful Soul had seemed, but maybe ShadowClan had been an easier prospect. Hollyleaf couldn't imagine Firestar abandoning his beliefs as easily as Blackstar. "I have to save ShadowClan." In her desperation, Hollyleaf was scarcely aware of the cats around her any longer. They can't turn their backs on ShadowClan and the Warrior Code. There has to be 4 clans. "Hollyleaf, calm down," Brambleclaw murmured beside her. Hollyleaf realized that her pelt was fluffed out and her claws were digging into the damp earth. The 3 ShadowClan cats were staring at her, fur bristling as if they expected her to leap on them. Taking a deep breath, she sheathed her claws and tried to make her fur lie flat again. "I'm okay," she murmured to her father. "This is Soul talking, isn't it?" Birchfall jeered, taking a pace forward so that he stood right on the border. "You're all crazier than a fox in a fit. It's mouse brain to listen to a cat that no clan cat has ever met before." "We listen to Soul because he talks sense," Snaketail retorted. stepping forward until he faced Birchfall. He knows what to do to give ShadowClan a better life for the future. Maybe if ThunderClan listened, they would be able to fight their own battles. Maybe that's why the sun vanished, to tell us that the time of the clans is over, and cats have to work out how to live on their own. If ThunderClan is too cowardly to face that... With a screech of fury, Birchfall leaped on Snaketail. The two cats rolled over in a spitting knot of fur. Scorchpaw jumped on top of them, clawing at Birchfall's shoulder. Hazeltail launched himself onto the apprentice, trying to thrust him away from Birchfall. Birchfall, Hazeltail, get back here now. Sandstorm took a pace forward, only to find her way blocked by Ivytail. Can't your young warriors fight their own battles? The ShadowClan warrior sneered. A battle they started? She unsheathed her claws and drew back her lips in a snarl. Brambleclaw bounded forward to stand at ShadowClan's side. No, this battle was provoked by ShadowClan. Another yowl split the air from the fighting cats. Hollyleaf cringed at the sound of ripping fur, as if the claws were raking her own pelt. Stop! She sneered. What are you doing? To her surprise, the battling cats fell apart, panting. At once, Brambleclaw stepped forward and thrust Birchfall and Hazeltail back across the border into their own territory. There's been enough fighting, he meowed. Come on, ThunderClan. As they started to leave, he paused and looked over his shoulder at the ShadowClan patrol. You can believe what you want, so long as you stay on your side of the border. We weren't the ones who crossed it in the first place, Ivytail hissed. Brambleclaw turned his back on her and bounded ahead to lead the patrol away. Are you okay? Hollyleaf murmured to Hazeltail. Her clanmate was blundering through the woods, stumbling over branches and letting trailing brambles rake her pelt. I'm a little dizzy, Hazeltail confessed. I hit my head on a branch when I was trying to pull Scorchpaw off Birchfall. Here, I'll guide you. Hollyleaf rested her tail on Hazeltail's shoulder. We'll let Leafpool take a look at you when we get back to camp. Birchfall was lucky that you did help him, she added. He would have gotten even worse clawing without you. The young ThunderClan warrior was limping along with blood oozing from a gash on his shoulder. When the patrol paused by the bramble thicket to collect Sandstorm's thrush and their other prey, he sat down and began to wash the wound with vigorous strokes of his tongue. Birchfall, you asked for that. Brambleclaw paused in digging up his foal. ShadowClan shouldn't have accused us of trying to cross the border, but you put us in the wrong when you started the fight. Warriors should know how to control themselves. Sorry, Birchfall mumbled. So you should be. When the patrol set off again, Brambleclaw and Sandstorm remained grimly silent. Birchfall padded after them with his head down. Hazeltail was beginning to recover. Thanks, Hollyleaf, she mewed, shaking off her friend's tail. I can manage now. Do you think Brambleclaw was hard on Birchfall? She went on. ShadowClan was asking for a fight. That doesn't mean we're right to give them one, Hollyleaf replied absently. She was finding it hard to pay attention to anything. Horror gripped her like an extra pelt, thick enough to choke her. ShadowClan believed that Soul held the answers to a better future, but they were wrong. He'll destroy the clans, she thought, terror freezing her limbs until she could barely set one paw in front of the other. Somehow, we have to find a way to stop him. Chapter 2! And it looks like Stream Raiders is ready! Let's go! Perfect timing. I'm gonna lower the volume, though. There. Oh! Wow, we went really fast. You won again, Ash! That's so funny. Alright, let's go for this frog. Wait, if we go for... No, we still only get one option. Yeah, let's go to the frog. Wait, where's the enemy? I don't see the frog at all. Maybe he'll come out of the woodwork? I don't know. Whoop. That was good. That was easy and quick. The event finished from last stream where we were on the soccer field, so now we're back to our normal campaign. Chapter 2. J-Paw slid into the nursery with a bunch of catmint clamped in his jaws. The sharp scent of the herbs didn't disguise the warm, milky scent of the nursing queens, or the underlying sourness that made J-Paw's fur prickle uneasily. Daisy's sleepy voice greeted him. "Hey, J-Paw." "Hi, Daisy." J-Paw mumbled around the mouthful of herbs. "Hey, Millie." Millie's only reply was a cough. J-Paw padded over to her, across the thick layer of moss and bracken that covered the nursery floor, and dropped the herbs beside her. "Leafpool sent you those." "Thanks, J-Paw." Millie's voice was hoarse. "Will you take a look at Briarkit? Her pelt feels really hot." J-Paw nuzzled among the kits, who were sleeping pressed up close to their mother's belly, until he identified Briarkit by her scent. The little kit was restless, letting out faint mews in her sleep and shifting around in the moss as if she couldn't get comfortable. J-Paw sniffed her all over, catching a whiff of the same sour scent that came from Millie. Her pelt was hot, just as Millie said, and her nose was dry. Briarkit might have caught her mother's cough, he thought worriedly. Out loud, he said, "I'll get Leafpool to send some borage leaves for the fever. I'm sure she'll be fine. I hope I sound more confident than I feel," he added to himself. As he listened to Millie chewing up the catmint, J-Paw wondered whether it would be better to move her and Briarkit out of the nursery so that the infection wouldn't spread any further. It would be easier to look after them in Leafpool's den, but then Millie wouldn't be able to feed Blossomkit and Bumblekit. He could sense sharp pangs of anxiety coming from Daisy, the fear that Rosekit and Toadkit would start coughing too. There was nothing J-Paw could say to reassure her. His claws worked impatiently in the mossy bedding. "I've got the power of the stars in my paws. Why can't I cure a cough?" The nursery felt hot and stifling, cramped with all the 5 kits and the 2 mothers in here. J-Paw was eager to be out in the open again, but he needed to wait and see if the catmint had helped Millie at all. When he heard scuffling from Daisy's direction and Toadkit's voice, "I'm a Wing Clan warrior and I'm coming to get you. I'll get you first," Rosekit mewed back. The 2 kits started to wrestle. One flailing paw hit J-Paw on the shoulder. "That's enough," Daisy scolded. "If you want to play, go outside." The 2 kits bundled past J-Paw, and he heard their excited mews dying away as they dashed out into the clearing. The long-furred she-cat sighed. "Sometimes I can't wait for them to be apprenticed." "I'm a goober. It's true." "It won't be long now," J-Paw meowed. "They're strong kits." Daisy sighed again. J-Paw could still sense that she was worrying, but she didn't try to put more fears into her words. "My throat feels better now," Millie announced, swallowing the last of the herbs. "Thanks, J-Paw." Another loud bout of coughing interrupted her. J-Paw flinched as a ball of sticky spit caught him on the ear. "I'll go and talk to Leafpool," he mewed hurriedly, backing towards the entrance to the den. On his way out, he clawed up a pawful of moss and rolled it over to clean his ear. I wonder what happens if a medicine cat gets sick. Who looks after the clan then? Shrugging, he headed across the clearing towards the den he shared with Leafpool. As he brushed past the bramble screen, J-Paw picked up the scents of other cats as well as Leafpool. Sniffing, he distinguished Birchfall and Hazeltail. There was a tang of blood in the air. "Who's hurt?" he demanded, his neck fur rising at the thought of another battle. "Birchfall has a wounded shoulder," Leafpool explained, picking a fight with a Shadow Clan cat, by the sounds of it. "They picked a fight with us," Birchfall protested. "And whose claws came out first?" The ThunderClan medicine cat retorted. "Brambleclaw told me all about it. You're lucky it's no worse. That cobweb should stop the bleeding," she went on. "But come back if it starts again. And I want to see you tomorrow in any case, to make sure the gash is healing well." "Okay." Birchfall sounded disgruntled, then added, "Thanks, Leafpool." You too, Hazeltail, Leafpool continued. If the dizziness comes back, I want you in here straight away. Now both of you take these poppy seeds and go have a good sleep in the warrior's den. No more duties until tomorrow. Hazeltail and Birchfall brushed past J-Paw on their way out of the den. As their scents faded, Leafpool asked, "How's Millie?" "She says her throat feels better," J-Paw replied, "but she's still coughing. And Briarkit is feverish. I think she might have caught the cough too." "Oh no." J-Paw picked up Leafpool's sudden spurt of anxiety. "I'll go over there and take a look," she meowed. "And then I'll have to go into the forest. We're low on borage leaves for fevers. Can you check on the elders?" J-Paw stifled a groan. Sure. He would much rather go out there in the forest. He could find borage by scent just as well as Leafpool could by sight. "I'm worried Mouse Fur might still be stiff after scrambling up the high ledge during the battle," Leafpool went on. "And they'll both need a checking for ticks." "That's an apprentice job," J-Paw thought resentfully as his mentor padded past him on the way to the nursery. He answered himself, "So, that's what you are, an apprentice. Get on with it." He had been proud of his littermates when Firestar had made them warriors, but J-Paw had no idea when Leafpool would give him his full name as Medicine Cat. He would walk in her shadow until she died. He didn't want her to die, and yet, can't I have anything for myself? How long before the prophecy is fulfilled? Trying to banish the thoughts clawing at his belly, he found a twig and collected a ball of moss soaked in mouse bile from the cave where Leafpool kept their supplies. Wrinkling his nose against the acrid smell, he stalked across the clearing to the elder's den under the hazel bush. "Hey, J-Paw," Longtail meowed drowsily as he approached. J-Paw was surprised that the blind elder could pick out his scent even with the tang of mouse bile in the air. "It's good to see you," Mousefur added. "I've got a tick on my shoulder that feels as big as a blackberry." "Let me look," J-Paw mumbled around the twig. At least Mousefur sounded in a good mood today. If she was in a bad temper, she would claw her tongue almost as harshly as Yellowfang, the former ThunderClan medicine cat who J-Paw met in his dreams. He soon found the kit, not as big as Mousefur said, but swollen enough to make her uncomfortable, and dabbed mouse bile on it until it dropped off. Mousefur flexed her shoulder. "Thanks, J-Paw. That's a whole lot better." J-Paw set the twig aside and began searching the skinny elder's fur to see if she had picked up any more ticks. Leafpool wondered if you were stiff after climbing the high ledge. Mousefur snorted. "Tell young Leafpool that I may be an elder, but I'm not completely helpless. Why would I be stiff after a little climb like that?" "Good," J-Paw muttered. "Now, do you want your ticks fixed? 'Cause if you do, keep still." "Is that how you talk to an elder?" Mousefur's voice was tart, but J-Paw could feel her amusement. She settled herself comfortably and went on. "You were at the gathering, weren't you? What happened? I know there was trouble, but no cat tells us anything. Was it WindClan again?" "No." J-Paw hesitated. He didn't want to discuss Soul with any cat. Oh boy, poison! "Well," Mousefur snapped, "Badger got your tongue?" "ShadowClan didn't come," J-Paw began, choosing his words carefully. "Just Blackstar. He had Soul with him." "Soul? That tricky lump of fur who told us the sun would disappear?" "Yep." J-Paw was surprised that Mousefur seemed so hostile. "You didn't like Soul then?" "I don't trust any cat who knows things that StarClan hasn't told our medicine cat," Mousefur replied. "There's something wrong there. Or I'm a rabbit." "Oh. I have a question for you. Do you know such commands as shout out? If yes, how to use? Do you need a specific bot? If it's not difficult, I would ask a moderator to write this since I don't know English and I'm unlikely to be able to understand what you mean." I use a complicated bot. But you can set it up with Stream Elements if you have Stream Elements or Stream Labs, I believe. That said, Twitch has a shout out already built in. Nightbot is pretty simple, yeah, but Twitch has one that's already set up. I believe it's slash shout out. I don't think that worked. Slash. Yes. Mods or broadcasters can use shout out username. And it won't send a message in the chat like how some would do. Like, no. Oh. See, when I do that, it does a bunch of things. But that's because I've set up a whole bunch of complicated things. But when you do the shout out slash shout out and then a name, the username, like Phil said, then you'll get the thing that pops up on the very top. You see the shout out was given to Naoki? That one would be what you would get. Mod view to demonstrate. Do you want to be a mod, Phil? You don't have to do anything. I mean, I know the buttons. You know what, Phil? We do need a mod. You don't have to take it very seriously. Just if a bot comes in and you can delete their message. That's all what you need to do. Just because it's harder for me to tab out. I trust you, Phil. Where the heck is the... Oh, there it is. Lord. It's so hard to... I know what your dang name is. Here, let me try if I can do it like this. Lord Fee. Oh, is it because... Oh, I already have you as a... It's not showing up because I already have you as a VIP. That's so funny. Okay, hold on. Dang, you can't be a VIP and a mod? Oh no. Oh. Well, worth the kernels. You've been upgraded. We all know that you bought the VIP. If you ever want to disappear from moderator, you want to unpromote yourself, I'll give you back VIP. Dun 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 dun. Sounds good. Alright, there you go, Phil. The sword! He went from being a gem to being the sword that cut the gem. Does that work? I'm a less important person suddenly. Think you can unmod yourself. Really? You can? Phil no longer cool. Wow! Phil's so cool! Baffling. Right, let's continue. I hope that that helps though, Naoki. The guy, Phil? Oh! Moderate on a streamer channel, and I just remembered how they use command shout out. Already been told about the command you said. We was reminded of unknown command. Interesting. It might just be slash shout out like SO. If you Google, yeah, let me see. Twitch shout out command. If you use FFC, you can change the mod badge. What's FFC? But isn't like FFC like only if everybody you can only see that the mod badge has changed if someone else is using FFC? Okay, so it is. Yeah, so this is what Google says. But if you're a mod for someone and they would have had to check, they would have had to make a shout out command, like the shout out command that you're talking about themselves. So it's not like if you're just the moderator to do the shout out command, right? Like you aren't running your own channel where you're trying to set that up. So I think you'd have to ask them maybe what their shout out command is exactly, because sometimes they can have it set up differently. Like they might not even have a shout out command like that set up. They might, oh look, you won! They might have it set up as shout out instead. Oops, it didn't mean to have another exclamation mark. They might have it set up as that instead. But yeah, you'd have to talk to them about it. The shout out username should work unless you wrote a username wrong. Or you put like double spaces in it or something like that. Or you wrote shout out incorrectly. But the slash shout out username should work. Yeah, copy or paste is your friend with shout out. I hope that helped, and I hope you could understand it okay. All right, where were we? Yeah. I wonder who. Not me, though. Or Phil. Where were we? All right. Blackstar spoke at the gathering. J-Paw went on, relieved that Mousefur didn't know Soul had almost become his mentor for fulfilling the secret prophecy. He said that Soul had persuaded him and ShadowClan not to listen to StarClan anymore. What? J-Paw felt Mousefur's pelt begin to bristle. But every clan cat listens to StarClan. What else are they supposed to do? J-Paw shrugged. Blackstar thinks living cats can look after themselves. Mousefur snorted. No more than I'd expect from that flea brain. So, I gave her a tougher voice. So, what did StarClan have to say about it? Nothing, J-Paw admitted. The moon kept on shining, bright and clear. He felt Mousefur's muscle tense under his paws. That doesn't make sense, she muttered. Though J-Paw agreed, he didn't reply. Just retrieved the ball of mouse bile to deal with another tick near the old cat's tail. There, you're done. He meowed. Oh, I'm sorry, Naoki. You got this. Gamba. Mousefur grunted her thanks, and J-Paw turned to Longtail. The blind elder had remained silent as J-Paw passed on the news at the gathering. J-Paw could pick up mingled feeling of guilt and confusion. He guessed that Longtail was still feeling bad that he hadn't been able to fight beside his clan in the battle. There wasn't much J-Paw could say to comfort him. He was blind too, but at least he had been able to use his medicine skills to help. Keep still, he meowed, parting Longtail's fur gently and making sure his claws were sheathed. I'll soon check you for your ticks. Thanks, J-Paw. Longtail relaxed a bit. Could you check my pad too? He added, holding out one forepaw. I think it got scraped on the stones when I climbed up to the high ledge. Sure. J-Paw didn't find any ticks, but set the mouse file on one side to run his paws over Sorry. Longtail's pad. There was no sign of blood, but he could feel grit embedded in the roughened skin. Bending his head, J-Paw rasped his tongue over Longtail's paw until it felt smooth again. I don't think you need any yarrow, but I'll check again tomorrow. Keep it clean and give it a good lick now and again. I'll do that, Longtail meowed. Stream Elements does, yes. Stream Elements you can set up. But you have to enable it. You have to give Stream Elements the permission to do it. Otherwise, it won't work. You have to set it up. That's it. Their dashboard. I think there should be something on the sidebar like commands. Go where it says commands. J-Paw picked up the twig and squeezed his way out of the elder's den. I wish we could sort out Soul and ShadowClan as easily as I could sort out a scraped pad. He picked up Hollyleaf's scent close by. A blast of anxiety hit him, like walking into the teeth of a gale. He almost felt his fur flattened by it. I thought you'd never finish, his sister exclaimed. What's the matter? J-Paw asked her. We've got to talk. Hollyleaf's voice was low and tense. There was a fight on the ShadowClan border this morning. I know, J-Paw replied. So what? There are border skirmishes all the time. This wasn't just a border skirmish, Hollyleaf hissed. It's all about Soul. He's telling the ShadowClan cats to ignore the warrior code. We already knew that, J-Paw pointed out. Hollyleaf's anxiety crackled like lightning. Look, we can't talk now. We need Lion Blaze here. Sandstorm and Cloudtail are waiting for me to go on another hunting patrol, so we'll meet again when I get back, okay? Okay. J-Paw knew that Hollyleaf wouldn't give up until he agreed. Hollyleaf! Cloudtail's voice came from the other side of the camp. Coming! Hollyleaf called back. I'll catch you later. She mewed to J-Paw and bounded off. Shaking his head, half irritated and half worried by his sister's distress, J-Paw padded back to his own den. Wait, what did Snicklefritz say? Playing with poison. Spill transitions from cool to confused. J-Paw was tidying the supply of yarrow when Leafpool returned from the forest with a huge bunch of borage leaves. I was lucky to find these. Oh wait, that's not the right voice. I was lucky to find these, she meowed, dropping the stems at J-Paw's paws. It's time we started stocking up and getting ready for Leaf Bear. I can go out and start collecting stuff, J-Paw suggested hopefully. Anything to get at a camp. In a day or two, maybe, Leafpool replied. We should go through the stores first, and check on what we need. Meanwhile, you can shred some of these leaves and chew them into pulp for Briarkit. Boring! But J-Paw knew better than to object. He pushed the yarrow back to the back of the cleft where they sorted herbs and began tearing the borage leaves apart with his claws. He'd gotten through less than half of the pile when he heard paw steps outside the den and caught a whiff of fresh kill. He perked up. Oh, he picked up Hollyleaf scent too. The hunting patrol had returned. Sorry, he mewed to Leafpool, springing to his paws. There's something I've got to do. He brushed past the bramble screen and tracked his sister by her scent. He bounded forward and felt her muzzle brush his shoulder as she ran to meet him. Come on, she urged breathlessly. Lion Blaze is waiting for us behind the warrior's den. J-Paw followed her, squeezing into the space where they used to play when they were kits. It's a bit more squashed in here than I remember, he muttered as the edged between his two littermates. 'Cause we're bigger, mouse brain, Hollyleaf snapped. And they've extended the warrior's den, Lion Blaze added. There is still not enough room in there, though. I kind of envy Foxpaw and Icepaw now that they got the apprentice's den all to themselves. Not for long, J-Paw replied. Rose-Kit and Toad-Kit will be there pretty soon. He winced as Hollyleaf stuck her paw into his side. Hey, watch it! There's a thorn stuck between my toes and I can't reach it, Hollyleaf explained. Okay. J-Paw felt around his sister's paw until he located the thorn, digging in deep between the beds of her claws. Hollyleaf, just tell us what's on your mind, Lion Blaze suggested. J-Paw could feel his impatience like a cloud of stinging flies. We can't stay stuck behind here all day. I'm worried about what Soul is teaching the Shadow Clan cats, Hollyleaf began. Ivytail said he told them not to listen to StarClan anymore. J-Paw drew back from Hollyleaf's paw with the thorn gripped between his teeth. He spat it out. We heard that at the gathering, he pointed out. Is that such a bad thing? What? Hollyleaf sounded outraged. I don't mean about ignoring StarClan, but it's good for cats to question things instead of just accepting them. There are some things you just don't question, Hollyleaf spoke with utter certainty. Soul doesn't think we should follow the warrior code, and without that, what are we? Just a band of rogues. This still isn't anything new, Lion Blaze meowed. Why are you getting so upset? What's new is that now we know the whole of Shadow Clan is agreeing with Soul, not just Blackstar. Honestly, are you two both mouse-brained? Do you want a clan on our border who doesn't follow the warrior code? What's to stop them from crossing the border and stealing our prey? Or maybe even raiding our camp to steal our kits? I'd like to see them try, Lion Blaze growled. Squashed up against him, J-Paw could feel his brother's muscles flex as he extended his claws and dug them into the ground. The clans will be destroyed if we don't stick together and believe in the same thing, Hollyleaf went on, her anger rising. We have to do something. I'd like to tear that mange-ridden rogue apart, Lion Blaze's irritation was deepening into anger as fierce as his sister's. J-Paw struggled not to feel overwhelmed by the force of their fury surging over him from both sides. Soul promised to help us with the prophecy. And then he left us and went to ShadowClan. After a heartbeat's pause, Lion Blaze added, Do you think there's a prophecy about ShadowClan too? I'm sure there isn't, J-Paw meowed. We are the three. I know we are. He hoped that neither of his littermates would ask him how he could be so sure. He couldn't imagine how he would tell them about his dreams in the mountains when he had visions with the tribe of endless hunting. I think Soul knows more about the prophecy than he's telling us, he went on. And if he won't come to us, then we'll have to cross the border to find him. Trespass into ShadowClan territory? Hollyleaf's shock struck J-Paw like a blow. We can't do that. We'd be breaking the warrior code. That's just what I'm saying, J-Paw meowed. Sure, we can't do without the warrior code, but there are times when it's right to break it. Great StarClan, he went on, as he sensed that his sister was rejecting his idea. When we were kids, didn't we hear stories about how Firestar sometimes broke the warrior code if he thought it was right? We can't do anything about the prophecy until we know whatever Soul knows. Whether he's right or not about StarClan, he knew the sun was going to disappear and StarClan didn't. And we're not going to learn anything from him by staying here. I'm up for it, Lion Blaze snarled. I'll make Soul tell us the answers. Hollyleaf, you don't have to come if you don't want to. Hollyleaf's shock was fading into uncertainty. No, we're in this together. Besides, she went on, more determined, maybe the prophecy means that we're the only cats who have the power to save ShadowClan. J-Paw didn't say anything. If the only way Hollyleaf could bring herself to trespass was by thinking that she was doing it for ShadowClan's sake, he'd let her go on thinking that. But he and Lion Blaze were doing this for the three of them, to find out what the prophecy really meant and how they could achieve the power they had been promised. J-Paw, are you there? J-Paw's ears flicked at the sound of Lion Blaze calling softly from the other side of the bramble screen. He listened a moment longer, until he picked up regular breathing that told him Leafpool was soundly asleep. Then he climbed out of the nest and slid out of his den into the clearing. The scents of Lion Blaze and Hollyleaf wreathed around him. Follow closely, Lion Blaze whispered. The moon is shining and we have to keep to the shadows. Cloudtail's on guard at the entrance. We're gonna have to sneak out through the dirt place tunnel, Hollyleaf added. Oh, great. J-Paw wrinkled his nose. You can crawl out underneath the brambles if you'd rather, Line Blaze muttered. Come on. J-Paw's pelt prickled as he crept after his brother around the edge of the stone hollow. But when he felt the tunnel walls closing around him, the thorns snagging his pelt, there had been no yowl from Cloudtail. He relaxed slightly when he emerged from the other side and picked his way across the dirt place. As they headed into the forest, he tried sniffing out clumps of herbs and brushing through them to get rid of the nasty smell. The forest was silent except from the gentle rustling of leaves and the occasional scuttling of prey in the undergrowth. We need to keep together and keep quiet, Linebase murmured. There might be ThunderClan cats out for some night hunting, and we don't want any cat asking questions. Okay, Hollyleaf replied. J-Paw could tell she was scared, not by the thought of a fight with ShadowClan warriors, but because she didn't want to be caught breaking the warrior code. I wish she'd lighten up. If we've got the power of the stars in our paws, we're more powerful than the code, right? Lineblaze led them to the stream that marked part of the border. Keep right behind me, he instructed J-Paw. It's not deep. J-Paw bristled. I'm fine, thanks, he muttered. He didn't want any cat to know how scared he was of water, even after teaching Cinderheart how to swim. His belly churned when he felt the water lapping around his paws, then rising up his legs as he waded deeper. But before the water lapped at his belly fur, he felt it sink again, and soon he was scrambling out onto the bank of ShadowClan territory, the reek of ShadowClan scent all around him. We should roll in their scent marks, Hollyleaf suggested. That way we'll disguise our ThunderClan scent. Wonderful, J-Paw grumbled, even though his sister's idea was a good one. The dirt place, and now ShadowClan. I won't be able to lick my fur for a moon. Thoroughly covered in ShadowClan scent, the three cats headed deeper into the rival clan's territory. J-Paw's ears were pricked for the sound of approaching patrols. His jaws parted to pick up the stronger scent that would warn him of an approaching warrior. But the forest was eerily silent. Where are all of them? Hollyleaf whispered. It was unusual for no cats to be out at night, not even a few hunters, especially when there was a bright moon. No cat answered her. They went on until J-Paw felt the fallen leaves under his pads give way to sharp pine needles. We must be getting closer to camp, he whispered. Lineblaze took the lead again, guiding J-Paw in short dashes. J-Paw understood that they were flitting from shadow to shadow. At last he could taste an overwhelming surge of ShadowClan scent from somewhere ahead. The ground under Paw began to rise and became broken up, with rocks poking out of the pine needles covering. Soon J-Paw felt Lineblaze's tail bearing his way. Keep down, his brother hissed, then creep forward about a tail length. J-Paw did as he was told, feeling the prickle of thorns raking the fur along his back. Sniffing, he caught the scent of gorse and realized they must be hiding beneath a bush. His littermates were pressed against his. His littermates' pelts were pressed against his, one on either side. What can you see? He demanded. We're looking down into the camp. Sola's there, Hollyleaf breathed into his ear, standing on top of a rock. The whole clan is listening to him, even the kids. I can see Blackstar and Russet Fur and... Oh, there's Tawny Pelt. Shut up, Lineblaze growled. I want to hear what Soul's saying. J-Paw flicked his ears forward. He could already make out Soul's voice rising from the hollow, and as the others fell silent, he heard what the loner was saying. No cat should just accept what has gone before. Soul meowed, his voice ringing above the faint sounds of the forest. StarClan's time is over. These cats are dead, and their spirits have no power over you. J-Paw suppressed a shiver. No cat who had met with StarClan at the Moonpool would agree that StarClan had no power. We will have more power, he thought. But we're the three in the prophecy. Ordinary cats should still look to StarClan. I've shared tongues with StarClan. J-Paw recognized the voice of Little Cloud, the ShadowClan medicine cat. He sounded worried. I can't believe that our warrior ancestors are powerless, or has everything I've experienced been a lie? StarClan is good at deceiving, Soul replied smoothly. Ask yourselves, did they warn you that the sun would vanish? No. That means either they didn't know about it, or they don't care about you enough to warn you. Why should any cat go on trusting them? Murmurs of agreement rose up to where the three ThunderClan cats were hiding. Little Cloud didn't protest
again. When the sun vanished, everything you believe in changed, Soul continued. His voice was so powerful and persuasive that J-Paw could understand how ordinary cats might be influenced by him. What you must ask yourselves is, what should you do about it? Where will you find your answers now? In ourselves, Blackstar spoke, a deeper, rougher voice than Soul's. What this cat says is true, he added, addressing his clan. StarClan led us to live beside this lake, and I've always had my doubts that it was the right decision. There are too many two-legs for start.
And too much has gone wrong, Cedarheart growled. The 2 kitty pets in the 2-leg nest. Arguments about the border, Toadfoot put in.
Hang on a moment. J-Paw stiffened as he heard Tawnypelt speak up. Things went wrong in the old forest, too. You can't expect life to be all mice and moonlight. That just goes to prove what Soul is saying. Blackstar's voice was harsh. StarClan can't help us there either. Couldn't help us there either. They couldn't even stop the 2-legs from driving us out. What does Blackstar mean? Lineblaze whispered, pressing closer to J-Paw. Does he want to lead ShadowClan away from the lake? He must have bees in his brain.
One clan alone and Leaf Bear not far out?
He can't! Hollyleaf's voice shook.
There have to be 4 clans.
Shh! J-Paw hissed, trying to concentrate on what was happening in the hollow. But before he could hear any more, jagged lines of silver flashed across his vision. He seemed to be looking down on a long forest path. Moonlight silvered the forest floor, bared with black where the shadows of trees lay across it. Lumbering towards him was a badger, the white stripes down its face glowing like a silver flame. J-Paw had barely caught his breath with shock when the creature was gone, and the familiar night of his blindness swallowed up his vision. What's the matter? Lineblaze murmured. J-Paw realized that all the muscles in his body were tense. He was crouching with his claws dug into the earth and every hair on his pelt bristling. I saw a badger. J-Paw remembered just in time to keep his voice low. You saw? Hollyleaf sounded bewildered. I had a vision. J-Paw was too spooked to explain in detail. We're in danger here. He heard Lineblaze draw in a long breath and pictured his brother was with his jaw gaping, tasting the air. There's no badger here, Lineblaze reported. Are you sure you saw it? Lineblaze lashed his tail. No, he snapped. I'm just making it up for fun. What do you think, Mousebrain? He paused to taste the air himself and listened for the sound of the huge, clumsy creature trampling through the undergrowth, but the forest was still and silent, except for the sound of voices coming from the ShadowClan camp, and he couldn't pick up the slightest trace of badger scent. It's gotta be a sign of something, he mewed. I don't understand it yet, but I don't think we're safe here anymore. We should get back to the Stone Hollow as quickly as we can. But we haven't spoken to Soul yet, Lineblaze protested. And we won't, tonight, Hollyleaf pointed out. Not with all of ShadowClan listening to him. I think J-Paw's right. We should go while we have the chance. J-Paw could feel that Lineblaze was unhappy with the decision, a sullen anger with Soul churning away inside him, but his brother didn't argue when Hollyleaf led the way down the slope away from the camp and back towards the border. J-Paw's pelt didn't lie flat again until they had waded back across the stream and were creeping through the tunnel into the ThunderClan camp. He slipped back into his den and flopped down beside the sleeping leaf pool. Badgers, he thought as he slid into an exhausted sleep. StarClan, what are you trying to tell me?
You just finished this book? You're ahead of me, Saki.
Also, this isn't the end of the chapter, but we are gonna do the stream raiders real quick.
Yippee!
You're not much ahead?
Still.
Back to map. I'm waiting for you to finish Long Shadows. So exciting. Oh, look at these dinosaurs! Okay, I'm gonna put my bomby guy right there.
Boop, 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 boop.
J-Paw woke with a paw prodding him sharply in the side. The sun warmed his fur, and Leafpool's scent swirled around him. Wake up, J-Paw. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you are, a dormouse? J-Paw blinked drowsily. What? There's work to be done. I need you to check on Millie and Briarkit. Oh, okay. J-Paw staggered to his paws, flinching at the scuffling sound outside the den until he realized it was only Icepaw and Foxpaw dashing past. He didn't feel like he had slept at all after the previous night's expedition. It took an effort to pull his mind away from Soul and the Shadow Clan cats and the terrifying vision of the badger. What do you want me to do? He asked. I've been across to the nursery to check on Millie and Briarkit. Millie needs more catmint, and I've made a leaf wrap of borage for Briarkit. You can take them over there when... J-Paw stopped listening and flattened himself to the ground at the sound of a throaty bark somewhere out into the forest. J-Paw, what's the matter with you? Concern replaced Leafpool's irritation. Are you ill? He heard her sniffling as her nose touched his fur. You smell a bit funny. J-Paw cringed inside. He didn't want to discuss his scent, in case it led to more awkward questions. I'm fine, he asserted. That barking startled me, that's all. But you've heard a fox bark before. It was a long way off, and if it comes any closer, the patrols will spot it. I know. J-Paw scrambled into a sitting position, giving his chest for an awkward lick. It's just... I had this dream last night. No need to say where I had it. I saw a badger. I wondered if it meant danger. One badger on its own? Leafpool checked. Not a whole horde of them. J-Paw shook his head. Leafpool sat down beside him. He could sense her uncertainty, but she didn't seem to be afraid. I think the badger you saw might have been Midnight, she told him. Who's Midnight? Leafpool settled herself more comfortably among the bracken stalks. Back in the old forest, StarClan called 4 cats. One from each clan to make a long journey to the sun-drowned place to find a badger called Midnight. J-Paw's ears pricked. Was that how they knew the clans would have to leave the forest? That's right, Leafpool meowed. Brambleclaw was chosen from ThunderClan, and Squirrelflight went with him. Midnight warned them that the old forest would be destroyed, and then helped all the clans to find this home beside the lake. J-Paw felt his neck fur beginning to rise. StarClan gave a message to a badger? But badgers kill cats. Not Midnight, Leafpool assured him. She's no ordinary badger. Later, when we had settled here by the lake, a horde of hostile badgers invaded our camp and tried to kill us all and drive us out. And Midnight... She trailed off. J-Paw felt a rush of mingled emotions surge through her. Fear and regret and grief. He wondered why she should feel so strongly about a battle that had been over and done with before he was born. But he was too curious about Midnight to try and make sense of what she was feeling. What happened with the badgers? He prompted. We tried to fight them off. J-Paw realized that his mentor was making a great effort to keep her voice steady. There were too many. They would have destroyed ThunderClan if Midnight hadn't brought WindClan to help us. A badger helped cats against her own kin. Yes. Leafpool drew in a long breath and let it out again. There is nothing to fear from her, but she may have been trying to warn us of some other danger. You will tell me if she comes to you again? Of course, maybe. J-Paw knew that if this strange badger appeared again, he would find out what she had to say before he decided whether to tell any cat. Why do we have to sit around waiting for her? He asked. Brambleclaw knows where she lives, so why can't we go and visit her? It's too far, Leafpool replied firmly. She seemed calmer now that they had stopped talking about the badger's invasion. There's a lot of tension between the clans right now, so Firestar would never spare warriors for that sort of journey. Especially not Brambleclaw. He's deputy now. He's needed here. What about... J-Paw stopped himself. He had been about to suggest squirrel flight, but she had only just left Leafpool's den after being so badly wounded in the battle against WindClan. She wasn't even back on warrior duties yet. There was no way she could make a long journey. I guess you're right, he muttered. So, midnight. If you want me, you'll have to come and find me. Bum, bum, bum!
Chapter 3. I guess I could have just waited until the end of this chapter, but I'm trying to optimize time.
A scarlet leaf spiraled lazily down from a branch above Lion Blaze's head. He sprang up, batting it with his forepaws, then dropped to the ground again, his pelt hot with embarrassment. Had any cat seen him behaving like a kid? The dawn patrol was heading back to the stone hollow. The sun had climbed above the trees, but in the shadows, the leaves and grasses were still rimmed with frost. Leaffall was creeping over the forest, and the harsh days of Leaf Bear were not far away. Ashfur was leading the patrol. He had drawn a few fox lengths ahead, with Thornclaw and Brightheart. Lion Blaze drew a breath of relief as he realized none of them had been watching him. He stood still for a couple heartbeats, jaws parted and ears pricked for any sign of WindClan trespassers. But the faint traces of their scent all came from their own side of the border. "Lion Blaze!" Ashfur had halted, looking back over his shoulder. "Are you going to stand there until you take root?"
Coming!
"Oh, coming!" Lion Blaze called back, bounding forward to catch up with his former mentor. "I was just checking for WindClan." Ashfur gave him an approving nod. "That's good, but I don't think we'll have anything to worry about." "We can't be too careful," Lion Blaze meowed, falling beside the older warrior as they set off again. Brightheart and Thornclaw had disappeared through the thick clumps of bracken. Lion Blaze realized that he had the chance he had been waiting for, to talk to Ashfur alone. Giving him a sidelong glance, he began, "Can I ask you something?" Ashfur's whiskers twitched. "Sure." "I feel like I need some extra battle training. Will you work with me?" His former mentor stopped and faced him, his blue eyes stretched wide in surprise. "You're a warrior now, Lion Blaze," he reminded him, "and one of the best fighters in the clan. Do you really think you have more to learn?" Ashfur's praise warmed Lion Blaze like a ray of sunlight. Sometimes, when he was an apprentice, he had despaired of ever pleasing the Grey Warrior. "There's always something more to learn," he declared. "I want to stay as strong and fit as I can, so I'll be ready for the next battle." Ashfur blinked thoughtfully. "I'm not sure there'll be another battle. Not for a while, anyway." "WindClan might cause more trouble, and anyway, I still need practice," Lion Blaze insisted. He flexed his claws, ready to tear frustratedly at the grass, then stopped himself. He didn't want Ashfur to know how much this meant to him. "Please?" "Okay." Ashfur still looked unconvinced, but to Lion Blaze's relief, he didn't object anymore. "We could have Ascension now. I'll just catch up to Brightheart and tell her to report to Firestar. Meet you at the training hollow." He bounded off, leaving Lion Blaze to head to the training hollow by himself. The sunlight suddenly seemed brighter, and he relished in the cool touch of the breeze in his fur and the dew on his pads. He knew that he had to keep training to make the best use of his powers that he could, but he didn't want Tigerstar to act as his mentor anymore. Lion Blaze shivered, as if thinking of the Dark Warrior could summon him. He glanced around, but there was no sign of the striped shadow and burning amber eyes. At first he felt special, honored to be chosen by Tigerstar for extra training, and delighted to be able to beat the other apprentices with a move the Dark Warrior had shown him. But in the last few moons, Tigerstar had changed, showing a hostile side and trying to control Lion Blaze. Or maybe he hasn't changed. Maybe I'm just seeing what Tigerstar has been like all along. He remembered Ferncloud scolding Foxkit and Icekit before they became apprentices. "If you don't behave, Tigerstar will come and get you." The two kits had squeaked in terror and burrowed close to their mother's belly. Was I completely mouse-brained? Lion Blaze wondered. Did I think he was helping me when all this time he was using me? Yes. If he practiced with Ashfur, he wouldn't need Tigerstar anymore, and if Tigerstar kept visiting him, he would be strong enough to fight him off. Maybe he'll leave me alone if I can prove I'm a good enough warrior without him. The training hollow was empty this early in the day, with few wisps of mist still clinging to the grass. Lion Blaze padded into the center and began practicing his battle moves, leaping and twisting in the air, imagining how he would land on Tiger Star's broad shoulders and dig his claws into the dark tabby pelt. Pretty good, Ashford's voice came from the other side of the hollow. Thanks, Lion Blaze panted. He was turning to face his former mentor when Ashford crashed into his side, knocking him off his paws. Furious that he hadn't been ready, Lion Blaze let out a screech. He battered at Ashford with his hind paws, while Ashford tried to sink his teeth into his neck fur. The Grey Warrior's heavier weight pinned Lion Blaze down, driving all the breath out of him. Still want to fight? Ashford taunted him. With a tremendous effort, Lion Blaze rolled over, thrusting Ashford away. He scrambled to his paws, breathing heavily, and sprang on top of Ashford before his opponent could recover. He gave the Grey Warrior 2 quick blows from his forepaws, then tried to leap away. But Ashford was too quick for him. Flashing out a paw, he hooked Lion Blaze's hind legs from under him, and the 2 cats wrestled together on the ground. Lion Blaze's ears stung as Ashford cuffed him. He pummeled his opponent with his forepaw, finding it hard to keep his claws sheathed as the red haze of battle threatened to engulf him. Stop! Lion Blaze hardly heard the yowl, but Ashford rolled off him right away and sprang to his paws. Lion Blaze was left scrambling on the ground, shaking his head to clear it. What in StarClan's name are you doing? Now Lion Blaze recognized Firestar's voice. He struggled to stand, blinking grit from his eyes, and spotted Firestar on the edge of the hollow with Whitewing, Icepaw, and Birchfall just behind him. The ThunderClan leader's eyes flashed green fire. Warriors fighting? Why? He demanded. Ashford shook scraps of debris out of his fur. It was just for practice, Firestar. But Lion Blaze is a warrior now, Firestar pointed out, not your apprentice any longer. It was my idea, Firestar, Lion Blaze meowed. I asked Ashford to practice with me. We're just trying to... I don't want to listen to excuses. Firestar's voice was cold. What I just saw now was far more vicious than a practice bout. At a time like this, with trouble on both sides of our territory, we can't afford to have warriors injured. And with Leaf Bear coming on, Leafpool can't afford to waste herbs on unnecessary wounds. Are you both mouse-brained? I'm sorry, Firestar. Lion Blaze hung his head. It's my fault. Don't blame Ashford. But how are we supposed to fight well if we aren't allowed to practice? Ashford is an experienced warrior. He should have more sense. Firestar retorted with a flick of his tail. Then he relaxed slightly. I know you're keen, Lion Blaze, and that's good. But try and think ahead, will you? This isn't a good time to be taking risks. His pelt crackling with shame and frustration, Lion Blaze muttered agreement. Whitewing, Birchfall, and Icepaw are going hunting, Firestar continued. You would better go with them, Lion Blaze. Work off some of that energy on prey instead of on another warrior. Ashford, come with me. With a flick of his tail, he padded out of the glade, followed by the Grey Warrior. We thought we tried down by the lake, Whitewing mewed to Lion Blaze. Whatever. Lion Blaze let Birchfall and Whitewing take the lead. They padded closer together through the undergrowth, with Icepaw bounding excitedly at the back. The heat of battle was still pulsing through Lion Blaze's body. He wanted to sink his claws into something. He hoped the squirrel or a rabbit would cross his path soon. He couldn't stifle the feeling that Firestar had been unfair. Surely this was the right time to practice fighting moves. There could be a battle any day, with WindClan and ShadowClan. And how was he supposed to fulfill his prophecy if he never got a chance to work on his skills, to be the best warrior the clans had ever seen? Lion Blaze pushed his way through the thorn tunnel, 2 mice and a vole dangling from his jaws, the scent of prey flooding his senses. When he reached the clearing, he spotted his brother and sister together outside the medicine cat's den. Hollyleaf signaled to him with her tail, so when he had dropped his fresh kill on the pile, he bounded over to them. What's this I hear about you and Ashford fighting? Hollyleaf demanded. What? Lion Blaze gaped at her. How do you know? J-Paw twitched his ears. News runs around this camp faster than a rabbit. Don't you know that? Barry Nose told me. Hollyleaf sounded defensive. He heard you when he was out on a hunting patrol. He said you sounded really vicious. Barry Nose. Lion Blaze spat with a single lash of his tail. Hasn't he got anything better to do than gossip about other warriors? Anyways, is it true? Hollyleaf persisted. What were you fighting about? Lineblaze felt his neck fur rising. His claws slid out and his muscles tensed. He wanted a real enemy to fight, not just gossip and unnecessary questions. We weren't fighting, he snapped. We were training. Just leave it, will you? I've already had Firestar clawing my ears over it, and I think he's wrong. I need more practice. How can I defend my clan if I forget what to do? By the time he had finished speaking, he was spitting out the words, his claws raking the ground in frustration. After a heartbeat, Hollyleaf took a pace towards him and gently laid the tip of her tail on his shoulder. Lineblaze shivered, trying to push down the surge of fury that had nearly spilled over. You won't lose your fighting skills, Leafpool mewed. Don't you see? That's the special power the prophecy gave you, to fight better than any other warrior in the clans. I don't understand. Or, you don't understand, Lineblaze muttered. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like I have to keep practicing. Well, you better not let Firestar catch you again. Cats are already starting to talk, Hollyleaf warned. We can't let the rest of the clan know about the prophecy, not until we're sure what it means. I'll try my best, Lineblaze promised, letting his shoulders sag. I won't get into any fights with other warriors, at least not where Firestar can hear us. Thick darkness surrounded Lineblaze. The shrieks of battling cats echoed in his ears. He could taste the reek of blood and feel it clogging his paws and plastered in his pelt. His chest heaved as though he had been fighting all night. A gleam of moonlight pierced the clouds that churned across the sky. A single ray shed pale light on the ground at his paws. Lineblaze caught his breath in horror as he made out the body of Heatherpaw splayed out in the mud in front of him. A gash ran down her body from neck to tail. Her light tabby fur was soaked with blood, black in the silver light. Her lips were drawn black in a frozen snarl, and her blue eyes stared sightlessly at the sky. No, no, he whimpered. He started to touch the tail. He started to, oh my goodness. He startled at the touch of a tail on his shoulder and whirled around to face Tigerstar's intense amber gaze.
Well done,
the huge tabby purred.
That was a battle well fought.
But this wasn't what I wanted, Lineblaze protested.
Isn't it?
There was a hint of a growl in Tigerstar's voice, and his eyes blazed.
Remember how she betrayed you? She nearly destroyed your whole clan by telling WindClan about the tunnels.
But Lineblaze reached out with a paw and laid it gently on Heatherpaw's flank. Her fur was cold. She didn't deserve to die like this, he murmured.
All traitors deserve to die.
The fire in Tigerstar's eyes flared up until Lineblaze was smothered by it. He let out a yowl of terror, expecting to feel his fur being scorched. His paws thrashed on the blood-soaked ground, but he couldn't move. Another cat thrust a paw into his shoulder from behind. Lineblaze turned and unsheathed his claws, ready to spring at his enemy. Dustpelt stood in front of him, his gaze glittering with annoyance. Sunlight was pouring through the branches of the warrior's den.
Great Star Clan! I thought WindClan was invading, he snapped. Do you have to make such a racket?
Sorry, Lineblaze muttered. The moss and bracken from his nest was scattered from his thrashing around, and several other cats were looking up drowsily to see what the noise was about.
I should think so.
Dustpelt turned away and went to curl up beside Ferncloud again. Lineblaze was still shaking from his dream, his blood pounding with the heat of battle. He rose to his paws and pushed his way out of the den. Sandstorm and Spiderleg, over by the fresh kill pile, turned to look at him curiously. The vision of Heatherpaw's broken body hovered in Lineblaze's mind, clearer than the clearing in front of him. Is that what I'm becoming? A cat who slaughters? A cat like Tigerstar? He wished he had never heard of the prophecy and could just be an ordinary warrior with the same fighting skills as all of his clanmates. But the words of the prophecy had been spoken, and Lineblaze knew there was no escape from the destiny it would bring down upon him and his littermates.
Dun dun!
Chapter 4. Wait, let's check on how long. 10 minutes. Do you think we can handle it? Maybe not. How about... Let me... Looks like an interesting fight. Yeah, it does. Okay, I'm gonna go be right back. I want to get some crackers or chips. Something to munch on briefly, because I want a little something. Yes. I'm gonna put the Stream Raiders... Oh, dang. They have 350 each? Oh, my goodness. I'm gonna put the game on top so you guys can just look at it, I guess. I'll be right back! Allah! These are just tortilla chips? Stuff you would use salsa with, but they're still so yummy. Hello! It's like those tortilla chips that come in 3 different colors. Like normal, yellow, then red, and green. Oh, what's a kite? Salsa verde. Oh. I don't know if we have that here. I'll look it up. Yeah, I don't think we do. Wait, I want to try that. That looks cool. Look, yummy. Oh. That makes sense. Still. They're the only ones you like? I think the only ones I like... I can't remember them anymore, but I did like them briefly. Okay, I'm gonna start early. Who's this meow meow? Yay! Why? Ew. What is that? Yuck. Yuck. Ooh. Orc Slayer.
Woohoo!
Okay. It's a spider nest? Gross.
Yuck.
Sorry, I got distracted by eating chips. You ever like start eating and then zone out? That happens to me all the time. Like I'll start eating and then I'll just zone. You have a necromancer? That's crazy. Zone out when I fish. Okay, you go. Single assist for my buffs for my quest. There must be a reason. Maybe I have to look it up. Alright.
Chapter 4.
J-Bot turned away from counting poppy heads when he'd heard Leafpool brushing past the bramble screen into the den. Briarkit's scent mingled with hers, and he heard a feeble cough from the young kit dangling from the medicine cat's jaws. Briarkit's worse? He asked anxiously. Leafpool set the kit down in a nest of bracken. J-Paw heard the stems rustling as Briarkit tried to make herself comfortable. It's what I was afraid of, Leafpool meowed. Briarkit has caught Millie's cough, and Millie's no better. I'd like to move her in here too, but I don't think Daisy could cope with feeding Bumblecit and Blossomkit as well as her own. And we've no room to put them all in here. Yum, yum, yum. J-Paw felt steady waves of anxiety coming from his mentor like the surge of waves on the lakeshore. Why are you so worried? It's only white cough. Leafpool sighed. It could easily turn into green cough, especially with the cold weather coming. Lowering her voice in case Briarkit was listening, she went on. There are several kits in the clan, and mouse fur is very frail. We could end up losing cats. She slid beside J-Paw in the storage cave. We're almost out of cat mint, she murmured. There's enough for Briarkit now, and another dose for Millie, and that's all. I'll go and fetch some, J-Paw offered instantly. That would be a big help. Leafpool mewed. Take another cat with you. No, not because I don't think you can manage on your own. She added, as if she knew he would start bristling. 2 of you can carry twice as many stems. Okay. Shall I take the other catmint to Millie first? No, I'll do that. The sooner you go, the sooner you'll be back with fresh supplies. When J-Paw emerged into the clearing, the first cat he located was Poppy Frost. Crouched by the fresh kill pile, he hurried over to her. Are you busy? Poppy Frost gulped down a mouthful of wool. Not very, she replied. Brightheart suggested I might help clear the bedding out of the warrior's den. There's so much of it now, and it's a hard job when there are only 2 apprentices. But to be honest, I wouldn't mind an excuse not to do it. She swallowed the last of her prey and rose to her paws. What do you want me to do? J-Paw explained about Briarkit and the need to fetch more catmint. Poor little Scrap, Poppy Frost mewed sympathetically. Of course I'll help. Let's go. She bounded across the clearing to the tunnel, leaving J-Paw to follow. Once through through the tunnel, he caught up to her, and they headed for the abandoned two-leg nest. J-Paw felt his paws prickle at the memory of the battle. Though the scent of blood and fear had faded, the screeches of fighting cats still echoed in his head. He steered Poppyfrost away from the tunnel where WindClan cats had invaded ThunderClan territory. He didn't want to think about what it meant if there was another entrance into the underground caves where he had first met Rock. He began sniffing for catmen as they approached the two-legged nest, but instead of the sharp, clean scent of the herb, all he could pick up was a musty smell. Oh no! Poppyfrost halted abruptly. What's the matter? The catmint! Oh, J-Paw, it's almost gone! Gone? It can't be! Poppyfrost bounded forward and J-Paw followed. He felt soft, thick grass under his paws, then a strip of churned soil where the two legs had once grown plants. The musty smell was all around him now, mingled with the occasional hint of fresh leaves. What can you see? He demanded. It's all squashed, Poppyfrost replied, her voice filled with distress. The stems are broken down, all black and rotten. J-Paw felt a dark space of fear open up inside him. That won't help sick cats. I know, it must have happened in the battle. J-Paw lashed his tail. I bet WindClan and RiverCloud did this deliberately. Surely no cat would be that cruel, Poppyfrost meowed. J-Paw worked his claws furiously into the earth and felt torn stems beneath his claws. We'll have to tell Firestar. They can't get away with this. No, wait! J-Paw had been ready to dash back to camp, but Poppyfrost stopped him with her tail across his chest. Cats were fighting all around here. The catman probably just got trampled. J-Paw grunted. She might be right, but that didn't stop him from being suspicious. Still, it was more important to see if he could find any fresh catmint for Briarkit and Millie. Reporting to Firestar could wait. Tasting the air carefully, he managed to identify a few new shoots of catmint poking through the ground, but they were very small, and there weren't very many of them. He began to bite carefully through each stem. Poppyfrost was moving around close by, rustling among the leaves. I'm pulling all the broken stems away, she explained. That way the new ones will have room to grow. Good idea, J-Paw meowed. I'll help you. Pick any of the new stems you can come across. I'll put them with mine. He began clawing away the dying stems in the fallen leaves that clogged up the new growth. He imagined the sun warming the battered plants, encouraging them to shoot up again. But soon it would be leaf bare, when nothing grew. Could they wait until new leaf for fresh catmint? At last, there was nothing more they could do. J-Paw and Poppyfrost divided their gleanings between them, though one cat could easily have carried all they had managed to find. Then they headed back to camp. Chips are so addictive. What happened? Leafpool's voice, sharp with worry, greeted J-Paw as soon as he rounded the bramble screen. What took so long? Why haven't you brought back more than that? J-Paw dropped the herbs at her paws. This is all there is. What? Poppyfrost padded up beside him and added her stems to the pile. Quietly, she explained what they had found near the two-legged nest. This is terrible, Leafpool exclaimed. That's the only catman I know of in our territory. Then you've got to give it all to Briarkit. J-Paw hardly recognized the cat who had spoken. The voice was so harsh. Then he detected Millie's scent, and he guessed that she had come to be with her kit. It'll be fine, Leafpool, honestly. She broke off with a bout of coughing. J-Paw didn't believe her. She sounded even sicker than the last time he had spoken to her, and he could sense Leafpool's fear for her. I'll go and report to Firestar, Poppyfrost murmured, slipping out of the den. You're not fine, Millie. Leafpool's worry made her sound sharp. Look at all the stuff you've coughed up. You have green cough. You'll have to stay here where J-Paw and I can look after you. But what about Bumblekit and Blossomkit? Millie's voice rose to a wail that ended in another sharp spasm of hacking coughs. Daisy can't manage to feed them as well as her own. I'm not arguing with you. Leafpool retorted. Daisy will have to manage. Besides, Briarkit is already ill. Do you want to give green cough to the other kits as well? Before Millie could reply, paw steps sounded at the mouth of the den, and J-Paw recognized Graystripe's scent. What's going on? The Grey Warrior demanded. Millie, I could hear you coughing from the other side of the camp. She has green cough, Leafpool told him. No, stay where you are. She brushed past J-Paw, who pictured her blocking Graystripe from hurrying to his mate's side. Do you want to catch it and spread it to every cat in the camp? There was a pause in which J-Paw picked up Graystripe's swirling anger and fear for Millie. All right, the Grey Warrior meowed at last. What can I do to help? Go and talk to Daisy, Leafpool replied. She'll have to feed all 4 kits in the nursery, because there's no way I'm letting Millie out of here. Rosekit and Toadkit are eating fresh kills, so that should help. Okay. Graystripe sounded relieved that there was something he could do. I'll make sure she gets enough prey, and I'll fetch some more for all you, too. Just tell me if there's anything else you want. Thanks, Graystripe, Leafpool mewed. I love you, Millie, Graystripe called out to his mate. Don't worry about the kits. I'll visit them every day. Millie's only reply was an exhausted murmur. She was worn out by coughing. J-Paw heard her draw Briarkit close to her belly. Feed well, little one, she whispered. Get strong, and you'll soon be better. I could take some borage to Daisy to help her milk to come, J-Paw offered. Fine, but wait here first with Millie and Briarkit, Leafpool instructed. I have to tell Firestar that we have green cough in the camp. She whisked out of the den. J-Paw padded to the cleft to check the supply of borage leaves. They were running low, too. But he knew where he could find more. He set aside enough leaves to take to Daisy and set to work chewing up the pitiful supply of catmint, ready for Millie and Briarkit. We need more, but I don't know where to find it. And if these are the only 2 cats we have to treat before New Leaf, then I'm a mouse. Uh-oh. Ow. By the time Leafpool returned, a cool dusk breeze stirred the brambles at the entrance of the den. A crisp half-moon floated above the hollow, its tip just clear of the tallest trees. It's time to go to the moon pool, she mewed fretfully. If only the sky would cloud over! I don't want to leave Millie and Briarkit. You don't have to go, J-Paw pointed out. You're right, you're needed here. I can go by myself. Oh, but... Leafpool's protest died away. J-Paw made himself stay still and quiet as he listened to her silence. He wanted to add that she was too tired to go. She had exhausted herself taking care of sick cats, and if she insisted on making the journey, she would probably fall off the mountain. But J-Paw knew better than to tell his mentor that. If he suggested she wasn't capable, Leafpool would be even more determined to prove she could do anything. Apprentices don't usually go without their mentor, Leafpool murmured half to herself, but I can't see it would matter for once. You know the way, and I have to stay with Millie and Briarkit. Yes! J-Paw stopped his paws from pushing it up into a triumphant leap. All right, Leafpool decided at last, but be careful, and don't get into an argument with Willowshine. Would I? Mothwing's apprentice wasn't J-Paw's favorite cat, but he had enough sense not to brush her fur the wrong way when he was the only cat representing ThunderClan. I'll be off then, he mewed. Right, and J-Paw, if you happen to send any catmint, I'll bring it back with me, J-Paw promised, though he knew how empty the promise was. There was nowhere else in ThunderClan territory where catmint grew. Perhaps they would need to travel further from the lake if they were to find enough of the herb to save the sick cats. I wonder if they could, plant them. Do they have that power? Do they have that understanding? Hello, Jarn! J-Paw slid out through the thorn tunnel and stalked into the forest. The night's scents and noises seemed sharper than ever, just because he was on his own. There was no other cats to fuss over him, and if he tripped over a branch or put his paw into a hole, he could recover just fine by himself. By now, the territory was familiar, especially since he had taken part in the battle. Soon he had left ThunderClan territory behind and was climbing the rocky ridge. Ahead of him, he scented other cats and identified them as Willowshine from RiverClan and Barkface from WindClan with his apprentice, Crestlerpaw. Little Cloud wasn't with them. The scents quickly grew stronger, and J-Paw realized that the other medicine cats were waiting for him to catch up. He halted in front of them, dipping his head. Greetings.
Greetings, J-Paw.
Barkface meowed.
How's the prey running?
He sounded awkward, and J-Paw picked up a strong sense of regret, as if the WindClan medicine cat wanted to apologize for the hostility between their clans. Aw. J-Paw dipped his head in acknowledgement of what the older cat couldn't say out loud. Fine, thanks.
Where's Leafpool?
Willowshine asked. She couldn't come, J-Paw replied. She had stuff to do. Even though medicine cats lived by different rules, he didn't want to tell the other clans that ThunderClan had Greencough in the camp. It made them sound weak. Surprise came from all three cats, with an edge of annoyance from Willowshine. I had to wait until I had my name before Mothwing allowed me to come here alone. That's not true. She was here before, as an apprentice, before she had her warrior cat name. I'm sure of it. Yeah, it happened before. Mothwing gave it. But never alone? No, I thought Willowpaw, she came alone after maybe the first or second time they went to the moon pool, because I remember J-Paw being like, yeah, she's not here because she has no point in being here. Like, I remember J-Paw thinking that in his head. Yeah. And then later on, she finally came. I believe that did happen. Uh-huh. Crackers are delicious. But these aren't crackers, they're chips. And they're also delicious. I bet Mothwing lets you come all alone all the time now. It's a wasted journey for her. J-Paw itched to make the retort, but he stopped himself. The RiverClan medicine cat didn't believe in StarClan. She could spend the night of the half moon in her den without all the trouble of journeying to the moon pool. I just got 8 ads. I'm sorry, Saki.
It doesn't look as if Little Cloud is coming, Barkface muttered. I thought he at least would stay faithful to StarClan.
He's trying, J-Paw wanted to tell him, but there was no way he could reveal his expedition into ShadowClan territory. Little Cloud had protested against what Soul was telling to his clan, but it hadn't made any difference. ShadowClan had turned their back on their warrior ancestors, and Blackstar must have forbidden his medicine cat from coming to the meeting. Perhaps we can share tongues with StarClan from his own territory, Willowshine murmured. And maybe StarClan will show us what to do about Soul, J-Paw suggested, though privately he didn't think that was likely.
Technically, this stream is an ad. What do you mean? It's not an ad if I'm giving you the entire thing, is it? What if we want to read the whole franchise? Well, you can read the whole franchise with me when I read it for you, with you.
J-Paw could hear the sound of falling water and the soft paw pads.
What? Super edition. No, I don't. I just want to stick with with the main story. Otherwise, we'll be reading like 100 books. It's already quite the endeavor. Exactly. J-Bug could hear the sound of falling water and the soft pad of paw steps as he followed the others down the spiral path to the moon pool. He felt very close to rock and fallen leaves, and the other ancient cats as he felt his paws slip into the hollow they had made so long ago. I hope I get a good dream tonight, he thought. It's about time. Ever since his vision in ShadowClan territory and his talk with Leafpool, he had hoped to meet the strange Badger Midnight again. If she didn't come here, in this special place under the half moon, then maybe she didn't mean to come at all. Someone just bought you a skin? What the? What skin did they get you? I guess if they want to support their creator, then it makes sense to gift the skin, right? An alcoholic tree? What the? The other cats were settling down at the edge of the pool. J-Paw took his place beside Barkface. Kestrelpaw crouched on the other side of his mentor, while Willowshine found a spot further away around the rim of the water. J-Paw stretched out his neck and dipped his nose into the moon pool. Its cold touch shivered through him. Curling up, he let sleep take him. When he opened his eyes, he found himself on a rough stretch of open ground. A precipice plunged down at his paws, and he took a pace back, dizzy from his glimpse of the depths. Wind whined among the rocks, and J-Paw dug his claws into the gritty soil, scared that he might be blown away. Dim light illuminated the mountaintop, peering around him. J-Paw couldn't decide whether it was twilight or early dawn. He thought at first he was alone until something moved on top of one of the boulders, and he recognized the bald, distorted body and unseeing eyes of rock. A streamer gave it to you? Wow! You're here, J-Paw gasped. Do you have something to tell me? Rock shook his head.
I've brought someone who wishes to meet you.
A black shape loomed up behind Rock, moving slowly into the open. J-Paw gripped even harder with his claws, and his neck fur began to bristle. He was gazing into the berry bright eyes of the badger. Midnight? He meowed, furious that he couldn't stop his voice from quivering. You're the badger who helped ThunderClan? The huge creature dipped her head. The pale stripe down her head gleamed in the half-light. Is nothing to fear, small one. Speak with me you will. Yes, I wanted to ask why you appeared to me the night we went to ShadowClan. It was you, wasn't it? Midnight nodded. I went that way. Find out what souls say to clans. You know Soul? J-Paw was astonished. Past my den near the sea he came. He had heard of cats by the lake, and many questions he asked. And you answered them? Was this how Soul had known so much about the clans? Why? Leafpool told me you were a friend, J-Paw protested. Midnight shrugged her heavy shoulders. Is more than one way to be friend. True, I give Soul knowledge, but knowledge not always bring power. It's brought Soul enough power, J-Paw mewed bitterly. He's already convinced one clan to give up their faith in StarClan. Perhaps will be StarClan's task to restore faith of ShadowClan. J-Paw blinked. He thought Rock had been teaching him that StarClan didn't have that kind of power. How can they? Midnight's eyes shone with black light. Faith is strong enough. It'd achieve anything, she assured him. That's no answer, J-Paw cried, frustrated. Why did you talk to Soul and not to me?
There was no reply. Midnight's bulky body was fading, melting into the shadows. Her white stripe glimmered for a heartbeat longer, and she was gone. J-Paw glanced around. Rock had vanished as well, and he was all alone on the bleak mountain top. He struggled to wake up, blinking in the hope of opening his eyes to darkness, but it was no use. Am I stranded here? He wondered, beginning to panic. Then he spotted 2 other cats approaching him from the open ground, the wind buffeting their fur. The first was a muscular tabby with one shredded ear. The cat followed him was a small gray and white tom with a drop of moisture gleamed on his nose. The shimmer of stars in their paws was very faint. Both of them were advancing nervously, casting swift glances into the shadows as if they expected enemies to leap out at them. The tabby halted in front of J-Paw and dipped his head.
Greetings, J-Paw, he meowed. My name is Ragged Star. Once I was the leader of Shadow Clan, and this is Runny Nose, who was our medicine cat.
Oh, actually, Ragged Star had a much deeper voice, but I'm gonna keep him that. I thought this was Crooked Star. That's why I gave him that voice. J-Paw stared at the 2 of them. Leafpool had told him about Runny Nose, and it looked as if even in Star Clan, the former medicine cat couldn't cure his own cold. Why have you come to speak to me?
For the sake of our clan,
Ragged Star replied, his voice hollow with sadness.
If no clad cat can help him, then Soul will tear them apart. They will scatter and become rogues. All their honor and pride will be gone.
I have spoken to
Little Cloud in dreams,
Runny Nose added, resting his tail tip on his leader's shoulder.
He keeps faith, but few cats will listen to him, and now Black Star has forbidden him to speak of Star Clan. He is not allowed to leave the camp to share tongues with us at the moon pool.
But what do you expect me to do about it? J-Paw asked, bewildered. I can't go into Shadow Clan to talk to Black Star, and if I did, he wouldn't listen. He would send me back to ThunderClan 1 piece at a time.
I can't tell you what to do, Ragged Star admitted. I just know my heart tells me that you might be the cat to save my clan.
He shared a look of despair with Runny Nose. Seeing it, J-Paw realized that not only had Shadow Clan rejected Shadow Clan, but their warrior ancestors were almost ready to give up on them too. Anger pierced his belly like a thorn and set his neck fur bristling again. All right, he snarled silently. If they won't do anything, I will. There must be some way to defeat Soul and restore Shadow Clan's faith in their warrior ancestors, and then Soul can keep his promise and help us fulfill our prophecy. I'll try, he promised, not bothering to keep his fury and contempt out of his voice. At least I'm not sitting back and wailing like a lost kid.
Thank you.
Ragged Star dipped his head once more.
Your warrior ancestors.
His voice began to die away, as if the vision was fading, though J-Paw could still see him and Runny Nose clearly. Bewildered, he glanced around and down and froze with terror. He could see the rough surface of the rock through his own paws. I'm fading! His eyes snapped open on darkness. He was curled up beside the moon pool, with a gentle plash of falling water in his ears and the other medicine cats waking around him. Following Barkface, Kestrelpaw, and Willowshine down the ridge once more, J-Paw thought about what he had seen. Midnight had told him next to nothing, except that it was she who had given Soul his knowledge about the clans. Had she told Soul that the sun would vanish too? J-Paw wouldn't be surprised. But Midnight hadn't said anything that would help him with the problem of Shadow Clan now. She seemed to think that Star Clan would be able to restore their faith, but Star Clan obviously wasn't going to do anything, except plead for help from a medicine cat apprentice. J-Paw paused to say goodbye to the other cats on the Wind Clan border. A soft breeze was blowing from the moor, bringing with it the scents of herbs and rabbits. Willowshine padded up to him and brushed his shoulder with her tail. Star Clan walk with you, J-Paw. Until next time. Thanks, J-Paw grunted. You too. She needn't think he was going to start being friendly, not after that smart remark when they met. She was far too smug about receiving her name before him. Besides, he didn't want to talk. He had to think. The only way to defeat Soul was to make Shadow Clan recover their power in their warrior ancestors. How am I going to do that? He thought back to when he had visited the tribe of Rushing Water. He remembered how grief-stricken Stoneteller had been when he discovered that the tribe of Endless Hunting had given up on the cats behind the waterfall. J-Pod didn't trust Stoneteller, but he had felt sorry for the old leader then. Stoneteller had lied to the tribe to persuade them to go on battling against their invaders. His lies had filled them with courage, and they had beaten the intruding cats. The tribe of Rushing Water had been made stronger because they had faith in what their warrior ancestors wanted for them. But there aren't any easy lies that will convince ShadowClan, J-Pug told himself. Or are they? It's time! And we're at a good break. All right. Where's this tree that you speak of? Here? No. Here? No. I can't see him. The second one you click. This one. Oh, Bread for Kids Bomber. Oh! Oh, nice. I wonder if it just randomly gives skins out to anybody who's playing. It's almost like an advertisement for yourself. Dun 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 bum 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 bum. Oh my god. Phil is killing everybody. Dun 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 dun. Woohoo! Nice. Oh, the dinosaur's worth less. Dang it. I wanted to go to the dinosaur. Alright, who shall I place? Vampire. Yes, Vampire. Looking good, looking good. Oh no! What was it? Ah! A potion! Hi, random! The banner guy just stays behind trying to rebuff someone in the back. I wonder why. Maybe you have to put him right in the middle. The heat of battle. Alright. By the time he reached the stone hollow, J-Paw could feel a freshening breeze that told him dawn was breaking, and hear birds beginning to twitter in the trees. I could do with a good fat blackbird, he thought hungrily. His worries about Millie and Briarkit returned as he crossed the clearing, but when he entered his den, he could hear the deep, regular breathing of all three cats. That's good. They all need sleep. Instead of joining them, J-Paw crept quietly out again. He didn't feel tired. Instead, he was quivering with excitement. On the way home, the beginnings of a plan had come to him, and he needed to talk it out with his littermates. He tasted the air, trying to find his brother and sister, and quickly tracked down Hollyleaf crouched beside the fresh kill pile with Mouse Whisker and Berry Nose. Hey, Hollyleaf, he called. He didn't want to go over to her and get stuck talking to the others. Hollyleaf came bounding over to him. His belly rumbled, and as he caught the scent of fresh mouse clinging to her pelt. Did something happen? She asked. He could feel her urgency crackling like lightning. We've got to talk. Where's Lion Blaze?
Still asleep in the warrior's den.
Leafpool mewed. Get him. I'll meet you in the back.
J-Paw slid into the gap behind the warrior's den, his claws flexing impatiently until Hollyleaf and Lion Blaze squeezed into the narrow space beside him.
We've got to find a better place to meet, Lion Blaze grumbled. If we get any bigger, we'll never fit in here.
Stop complaining,
J-Paw snapped, wriggling to make sure he got his fair share of the space. This is important.
Tell us then,
Hollyleaf meowed.
J-Paw told him about his dream at the moon pool, his meeting with Midnight the Badger, and then with Ragged Star and Runny Nose. StarClan asked you for help?
Hollyleaf queried, awe in her voice.
That's amazing!
J-Paw gave a faint hiss of annoyance. You don't have to sound so surprised.
Do you think you can do what they want?
Lion Blaze asked.
We'll help, you know that.
I have an idea, J-Paw began. We have to make ShadowClan believe in their warrior ancestors, right? So what they need is a sign from StarClan, a clear sign that every cat can see.
If StarClan could do that, wouldn't they have done it already?
Hollyleaf asked doubtfully. Yes, I think so. J-Paw's pelt prickled with excitement. So, if StarClan can't do it, we'll have to do it for them. There was a short silence, then Lion Blaze mewed.
Make a sign from StarClan?
Why not?
I don't know.
Lion Blaze sounded puzzled.
It just seems wrong somehow.
Besides, if we're more powerful than StarClan, why does it matter that ShadowClan believe in their warrior ancestors?
Of course it matters, mouse brain.
Hollyleaf spat. J-Paw felt all her muscles bunch as if she would have leapt on her brother for a couple of mouse tails.
All 4 clans have to stick to the warrior code.
All right, calm down, Lion Blaze muttered.
Hollyleaf ignored him. J-Paw, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but I know we can. I'll do whatever it takes to save ShadowClan from Seoul.
Her voice shook with intensity, and J-Paw could imagine fire blazing in her green eyes. A shiver crept on mouse feet down his spine. It was clearer and clearer that nothing mattered to Hollyleaf more than the warrior code. And for the first time in his life, he felt a little afraid of her. Dang.
Yikes! I just had a thought. You know how people put in their titles like road to affiliate or road to partner or road to 100K? Do you think I could write road to 20 CCV and it would help in my title? That's how much I need for the stream avatar affiliate ship, which I think probably bad.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I doubt most people know what
CCV, not CTV, CCV. Concurrent viewers. See, I didn't even know what you said. But what if the streamers know and they see me and they raid me because of that? And 20 isn't even that super duper high in the grand scheme of things, right? Like if I was saying road to 200 CCVs, then that would be a little, that's a little asking much. That's a big road to go to. But 20, a little more available. But then I wonder, if we do reach affiliate, would we lose affiliate if we went under that CCV again? I don't know.
noob friendly. Who knows? That was just my thought out of nowhere as I finished this chapter and ate some chips.
Ooh, while we're having a break, I got called in for a shift tomorrow. I'm back to work. I'm back to work.
But the sad thing about tomorrow is it's a full day shift, which normally wouldn't be bad in the case of having a full
Yes, money, good.
stuff, but they're having me work an hour later than they usually do, which means that I end at 2:30, which is only a half an hour before I usually start stream. So I guess I'll have to see if I have the energy to continue stream tomorrow, or I'll have to like push it, or I'll stream like later in the day.
Rest is good too. It is. But we're on that grind set, you know? We gotta keep it up.
I still am so sad because right before we moved, like right before I moved, I was getting like I was like in a good like growing state. I was streaming really consistency and I was growing really kind of like nicely. And then I had to move and I had like I don't even know how long it took for me to stream again. 2 weeks? Maybe? Something like that. And I lost all that momentum. And it's really been bugging me ever since. I'm just like, rah, 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 rah. And of course, this is just like, oh, one day, which is fine. But like, consistency, you know? The what if streams.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know.
It's rough. It's rough out there. All right. Actually, we're almost to 100 pages already. Mr. Beast could have been there. PewDiePie. I know. Oh my gosh, did you guys hear? Zentrea was in Dun's stream and he was away. He was BRBing and Zentrea was in his stream wanting to play Tekken with him. Cause I think she was just joining random Tekken things on her free time. And he had been away from the computer and he didn't realize. And then he came back, chat was like, oh my god, Zentrea was here. And he was like, huh? And then he went to her channel and followed her and realized that she was already following him. But yeah, Zentrea's following Dun. I know! Crazy, I'm so happy for him. I hope he gets to fight her in Tekken one day. His Tekken streams do really well. So I think he's probably going to be playing more of it.
So hopefully one of those days she'll drop by.
Alright, let's continue. We're about 10 pages away from 100 pages, which is pretty good. I might even read an extra chapter because we're a half an hour away from 3 hours. And if I can read this in 15 minutes, then maybe.
I guess we're only wasting time if I'm just not reading.
The sound of coughing woke Hollyleaf. Raising her head, she peered across the warrior's den. A few tail lengths away, Thornclaw was sitting up, his head bent as he coughed. His sister Brightheart pressed her muzzle into his shoulder. Don't worry, she murmured. I'll fetch you something from Leafpool to make you feel better.
Get a move on, Spiderleg grasped. Then maybe the rest of us can get some sleep.
Yeah, it's like trying to sleep with a monster in here, Berrynose added. Brightheart gave them a furious glare, her teeth drawn back in a snarl.
See if I help you if you get ill, she snapped and slid out between the
branches. Thornclaw coughed again. Sorry.
Don't apologize to the stupid furballs, Hollyleaf told him. If they don't like it, they can go and do something useful. Both Spiderleg and Berrynose ignored her, curling up again and wrapping their tails over their ears. Thornclaw lay low, too, but a cough shook him every time he tried to breathe. Hollyleaf was too anxious to go back to sleep. She curled up in her nest, listening to the rain beating steadily on the branches of the den. How many more cats would fall ill before Leafpool got the green cough outbreak under control? Her thoughts jumped to what she and Lionblaze had discussed with J-Pod the day before. Did they truly need to fake a sign to make ShadowClan believe in StarClan again? Wouldn't that make StarClan angry with them? Perhaps they ought to find another way to show that Sol wasn't a worthy leader. Unwillingly, Hollyleaf remembered how she had felt when Sol talked to her. She had basked in the warmth of his gaze, and his calm, deep voice made her feel as if everything would be fine as long as she listened to him. And yet he had taken a whole clan away from StarClan. That couldn't be right. StarClan has always been there. None of the clans should turn away from them. Arguing with herself was making Hollyleaf dizzy. In spite of the pounding raindrops, she got up and squeezed out of the branches of the den. Rain had turned the floor of the clearing into mud. It splashed up over Hollyleaf's legs and belly fur as she sprinted across to the thorn tunnel and stood shivering in its shelter. Her paws itched to race through the forest, as if she could find the answers she was looking for by tracking them down like prey. Gray dawn light seeped reluctantly into the hollow. No other cat was stirring, until Brightheart emerged from Leafpool's den and pelted back across the clearing with some leaves in her mouth. Soon after, movements on the high ledge caught Hollyleaf's eye, and she spotted Sandstorm leaping down the tumble of rocks. The ginger she-cat headed for the dirt place tunnel, then swerved when she saw Hollyleaf and bounded over to join her. What are you doing up so early? She meowed. There won't be any patrols until the sun is up. Twitching her tail, she added, with any luck, the rain will ease off before them. Thornclaw was coughing, Hollyleaf replied, aware that she wasn't telling the whole truth. Concern filled Sandstorm's green eyes. The last thing we need is illness in the camp. A lot of cats are still weak from the battle, especially Squirrelflight. Hollyleaf flinched. Her mother had been terribly injured in the battle. Her wound was only just beginning to heal. Although she wasn't sleeping in Leafpool's den anymore, she wasn't allowed to leave camp. If she caught a bad cough, she wouldn't have the strength to fight it. Sandstorm bent down and nuzzled Hollyleaf's head. For a heartbeat, Hollyleaf felt like a kid again, safe and comforted. Don't look so worried, the older cat purred. There are plenty of warriors to take care of the clan, and Leafpool's a great medicine cat. You just need to concentrate on learning everything you can to serve ThunderClan. That's what I try to do, Hollyleaf meowed, painfully aware of how far she fell short of what she would like to be. You made a great start in the battle, Sandstorm encouraged her. Firestar is very proud of you, but you mustn't take on more responsibility than you need to. Hollyleaf stifled a snort of bitter laughter. Sandstorm had no idea what responsibility she had to cope with. Don't forget what I said. Sandstorm stroked her tail tip gently over Hollyleaf's shoulder, then pushed her way out of the thorn tunnel and headed for the dirt place. The morning light was growing stronger. Though clouds still covered the sky and rain still hissed down into the clearing, Hollyleaf saw Graystripe bounding across the clearing to Leafpool's den, though he didn't go further than the bramble screen. Checking on Millie, Hollyleaf guessed. Couple heartbeats after Graystripe, Ashfur emerged from the warrior's den, closely followed by Cloudtail and Cinderheart. All three cats headed for the tunnel. Ashfur gave Hollyleaf a nod as they approached, curiosity in his blue eyes. You look frozen, he meowed. Do you want to come on the border patrol to warm up? Sure. She didn't want to go back to the warrior's den, and she knew J-Paw wouldn't plan anything about the fake sign without her. Ashfur led the way out into the forest, making for the old two-leg path. The rest of the patrol followed him, the rain muffling their paw steps. Cinderheart fell in beside Hollyleaf. There was a hint of nervousness in her blue eyes.
I don't like going this way, she confessed. It reminds me too much of the battle. Hollyleaf let out a murmur of agreement. Her memories disturbed her too, especially when they came in sight of the abandoned two-leg nest. The blood had been washed away from the stones, but it was easy to imagine that the stench still hung in the air, and the shrieks of battle-themed cats still echoed from the crumbling walls. Hollyleaf's neck fur rose as she eyed the moss-covered walls and thick clumps of bracken, half expecting WindClan warriors to leap out at them. "Stop!" Cloudtail's command jerked her back to the present. The white warrior was standing with his tail raised to halt the rest of the patrol.
There's something up ahead. Can you tell what it is? Ashfur asked softly. WindClan?
Cloudtail shook his head. His jaws gaped at the taste as he tasted the air. Ashfur signaled with his tail for Hollyleaf and Cinderheart to fall back and let Cloudtail take the lead. Hollyleaf knew that the White Tom was the best tracker in ThunderClan. He would soon find out what was waiting for them. Cloudtail slunk along the edge of the two-leg path, close to the rain-battered undergrowth, and slid under the overhanging stems to disguise his white pelt. Ashfur followed him, with Hollyleaf and Cinderheart in the rear. As she crept behind the senior warriors, Hollyleaf caught a trace of unfamiliar scent. She sniffed. She stiffened, her pelt beginning to bristle, and exchanged an alarmed glance with Cinderheart. ShadowClan! Hollyleaf tried to convince herself that the scent was left behind from the battle, but she knew that it was fresh, and it grew stronger as she padded forward. Her belly churned. Surely Soul wouldn't have ordered ShadowClan to invade ThunderClan's territory. Wouldn't he? Hollyleaf thought. She could hear J-Paw's voice, dryly sarcastic.
Zaki, that's so nice of your friend! Aww!
Cloudtail and Ashfur dropped into a crouch, ready to leap into battle. Hollyleaf and Cinderheart hastily copied them. The rain had almost stopped, though the wind still blew splatters into Hollyleaf's face. She could hear sounds now of cats pushing their way through the rain-soaked undergrowth, headed for the two-leg path. Then she heard a plaintive squeak.
Mother, that fern dripped water all the way down my neck.
Hush, came the reply. We'll be there soon. Tawny Pelt, Flamepaw! Hollyleaf bounded forward, ignoring Ashfur's hiss of anger. Fronds of bracken parted at the side of the path, and the ShadowClan she-cat pushed her way through. All three of her kits followed, shaking water from their pelts as they reached the open ground. It's you! Tawny Pelt exclaimed in relief, touching noses with Hollyleaf. Thanks, StarClan, it's some cat I know. Turning away, she dipped her head to Cloudtail and Ashfur. Greetings, she meowed. I've come to...
You've no right to be here,
Ashfur interrupted, the fur along his spine sticking straight up. What do you want? Are you alone, or have you brought the rest of your clan?
Hang on.
Cloudtail slapped his tail over the gray warrior's mouth. Let her get a word in edgewise. Tawny Pelt blinked gratefully at Cloudtail. I've brought my kits to ThunderClan. Her voice was low, so that her kits couldn't hear. All three of them were huddled together at the side of the path, staring around with huge eyes. I don't want to be part of a clan that doesn't listen to the warrior ancestors anymore. What? I don't remember this. They must go back, right? While she was speaking, Hollyleaf noticed how tired and hungry she looked. Her voice quivered. She was far from the tough, resourceful warrior Hollyleaf had known on their journey to the mountains. And what makes you think, Ashfur began, still hostile. Try not to be more of a mouse brain than you can help, Cloudtail spoke over him. What have we got to be afraid of? It's only a queen and her kits.
We're apprentices,
Flamepaw piped up indignantly. Cloudtail twitched his ears. Whatever. In any case, you can all come back to camp. Firestar will be interested to hear what's going on in ShadowClan. He shot a glance at Ashfur, and it's Firestar who'll make the final decision. Fury still burned in Ashfur's blue eyes. All right, he snapped. We'll go back to camp, and if WindClan decides to cross the border because we didn't finish our patrol, don't blame me. He led the way back along the path, stalking ahead of Cloudtail and Tawny Pelt. Cinderheart followed, while all three apprentices crowded around Hollyleaf.
Hi, Hollypaw!
Tigerpaw mewed. I'm Hollyleaf now, she told them.
Wow, you're a warrior?
Dawnpaw's eyes stretched wide.
Congratulations! Hollyleaf, Hollyleaf,
Flamepaw called out, and his brother and sister joined in. Cinderheart glanced back, blue eyes brimming with amusement. Sounds as if you've got 3 new apprentices, she murmured. Stop that! Hollyleaf mewed. Every hair on her pelt felt hot with embarrassment. I can't move without tripping over you. You'll get left behind, or we'll get left behind. The young apprentices stopped squeaking and began trotting along beside Hollyleaf with their tails stuck straight up in the air. What's that? Don Paw asked as they passed the abandoned two-leg nest. Two-legs used to live there, Hollyleaf explained, but they haven't been there for a long time, she added as the 3 apprentices exchanged nervous glances. Can you send any two-legs here? All 3 of them opened their little mouths to taste the air, then shook their heads solemnly. Not a thing, Tigerpaw announced. Well done, Hollyleaf meowed, wondering if this was how it felt like to be a mentor. Where's the rest of your clan? Flamepaw asked as they hurried to catch up to the other cats. In camp, mostly, Hollyleaf replied. We were the Dawn Patrol. There might be patrols out hunting by now, but still pretty early. Can we hunt? Dawnpaw asked. We're starving. Don't be such a stupid furball, Tigerpaw scolded her, flicking her ear with the tip of his tail. You don't hunt in other clans' territory. Well, I asked, Dawnpaw retorted. There's no time to hunt now, Hollyleaf replied, wondering how skillful the apprentices would be. They were still very young. They couldn't have had much training. I expect you'll be able to eat when we get to camp. Flamepaw's eyes gleamed. Thank you! Looking at them more closely, Hollyleaf realized that Dawnpaw might have really meant it when she said they were starving. They were all very thin. Every one of their ribs was visible through their pelts. Huh? Tawny Pelt, too, looking thin and hollow, and her fur looked as if it hadn't been groomed for a moon. Was there a problem with prey in ShadowClan? Do you think Soul knows we're here? Tigerpaw asked as they veered off the 2-leg path towards the stone hollow. Hollyleaf wasn't sure how to answer. Soul had known all about her and her littermates, and he had known that the sun would vanish. But J-Paw had told her that he'd found out a lot of things from Midnight. Could he possibly know where Tawnypelt and her kits were now? And would he be angry that they left for another clan? I don't know what Soul knows, she admitted. Your mother didn't tell him you were leaving? No way! Dawnpaw shuddered, her eyes wide with fear. He would have never let us go. Hollyleaf was saved from having to find a response as they rounded a stand of hazel bushes to see the thorn barrier across the entrance to camp. Brambleclaw was standing outside, tasting the air. His dark tabby fur still rumpled from sleep. When the patrol came into sight, he stared at Tawnypelt for a heartbeat, then bounded over to her and pressed his muzzle into his sister's shoulder. Good to see you, he meowed. Are you and your kits okay? How are things in ShadowClan? Everything's fine. Everything's fine, Tawnypelt replied with a cautious glance at Ashfur. Prey is running well in ShadowClan territory. Brambleclaw narrowed his eyes and gave his sister a long look. Hollyleaf could see that he didn't believe her. Tawnypelt was telling them what he did. Hollyleaf could see that he didn't believe Tawnypelt was telling them everything. If there was plenty of prey, why did she and her kids look so thin? You'd better come into camp, he mewed eventually. I'll tell Firestar you're here. He led the way through the barrier. The 3 apprentices dived eagerly after their mother, but when they stepped into the clearing, they hesitated, their fur bristling as they gazed around. It's okay, Hollyleaf reassured them. Brambleclaw said you could come in, so no cat will hurt you. The 3 young cats relaxed a little. Tigerpaw's eyes gleamed as he spotted the fresh kill pile. Can we have some? He asked Hollyleaf. We're so hungry. You better ask Brambleclaw, Hollyleaf replied. Brambleclaw, who was talking to Tawnypelt a tail length away, had heard the plaintive request. Help yourselves, he invited with a wave of his tail. There's plenty. Hollyleaf followed the 3 apprentices as they bounded across to the fresh kill pile. Don't gulp your food or you'll get bellyache, she warned. Flamepaw gave her a hasty nod and dived into the pile beside his brother and sister. They clawed away the soaking wet fresh kill on the top of the pile to find the drier, juicier pieces underneath and crouched down to eat with purrs of enthusiasm. Taking a mouse for herself, Hollyleaf was just starting to eat when Blind Blaze emerged from the warrior's den, followed by J-Paw. Both their litter mates padded across the clearing towards her, their ears flicked up in surprise when they noticed the Shadow Clan apprentices. "What's going on?" J-Paw asked. Hollyleaf picked up the tang of herbs from his pelt. He must have been to see Thornclaw. Shadow Clan cats?
Hi, Lion Blaze!
Dawnpaw mumbled around a mouthful of wool.
It's good to see you again!
It's good to see you too, Lion Blaze responded, surveying the scattered fresh kill pile. I can see you're making yourselves at home.
Where's our mother going?
Flamepaw asked as Tawny Pelt padded past with Brambleclaw, headed for the high ledge. Brambleclaw's taking her to see Firestar, Hollyleaf explained. His den is up there on that ledge.
Right up there?
Tigerpaw exclaimed.
Cool!
But why are they here? J-Paw insisted, an edge to his voice. Hollyleaf explained how the Dawn Patrol had met Tawny Pelt and her kits in the forest and brought them back to camp. She said she didn't want to be a part of a clan who didn't look after their warrior ancestors anymore, she finished. J-Paw said nothing, but looked thoughtful, his whiskers quivering as if he had scented prey. Hollyleaf guessed he was wondering how many more cats wanted to leave, and whether Tawny Pelt and her kits would be any help in his plans to make a sign from StarClan. Oh, maybe they'll help and then they'll go back to the Shadow Clan? More cats had begun to appear from the warrior's den. Dustpelt padded across the fresh kill pile, followed by Mouse Whisker and Honeyfern. Foxpaw and Icepaw bounded across from the apprentice's den.
In StarClan's name, what's going on here? Dustpelt asked, his lip curling. What has happened to the fresh kill pile? It looks as if a horde of badgers has trampled through it.
We've got visitors?
Hollyleaf mewed. Dustpelt's tail shot straight up as he stared at the apprentices.
Shadow Clan cats? He let out an irritated sigh. Have you left any dry prey?
Tigerpaw stood up. Tigerpaw spoke up.
We didn't want to eat the soggy pieces.
No other cat wants to eat them either, Honeyfern pointed out, pawing through the remains of the pile to see if she could find any drier pieces.
And what are we supposed to do?
Icepaw demanded, flicking a sodden rabbit with her tail.
Mousefur will claw our ears off if we take care of that.
Hollyleaf turned to the 3 Shadow Clan apprentices. That wasn't a very polite thing to do, was it? All 3 young cats studied their paws, their tails drooping.
We're sorry,
Flamepaw mumbled.
Soul said we could only rely on ourselves to take the best care of us,
Dawnpaw explained.
He says we shouldn't spend all our time thinking about fighting and marking borders. Then there'd be time for every cat to catch enough prey for themselves, and there wouldn't be any problem.
Hollyleaf exchanged a shocked glance with Lion Blaze. Where was the warrior code in the way of life Soul had imposed on Shadow Clan? What about cats who can't hunt for themselves? She asked Dawnpaw. The apprentice looked uncertain.
Well, we wouldn't let any cat starve.
You might not, but others would if it keeps them from going hungry, Hollyleaf thought. And you 3 look as if you're pretty close to starving. Literally just telling them to be loners,
right? Dawnpaw, you shouldn't listen to that dumb old patchy cat,
Tigerpaw declared, giving his sister a shove.
He won't let us train to be warriors anymore. I want to fight for my clan.
And I really want to be a medicine cat.
Aw, Flamepaw!
Added, scoring his paw angrily through the wet earth.
But Soul says we wouldn't need special cats if every cat knew about herbs and stuff. I was gonna be Little Cloud's apprentice, but now we don't even have mentors anymore. Blackstar says we have to call him Blackfoot.
Huh? Dustpaw added, her tail drooping.
Sounds as if Shadow Clan is breaking up,
Dustpelt remarked, gulping down the last of a blackbird and swiping his tongue around his jaws.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'd be sorry to see it happen. Your clan has some fine warriors.
He signaled to Mouse Whisker and Honeyfern with a wave of his tail.
Come on, let's get some patrols organized and see if we can find some prey that's fit to eat.
He stalked off towards the warrior's den. Icepaw and Foxpaw picked up the rabbit and carried it between them towards the elder's den.
You can explain why it's wet,
Icepaw meowed.
No, you can,
Foxpaw retorted. Hollyleaf watched them go. Her paws were trembling, yet she felt rooted to the ground. What can we do? She asked, hardly expecting a reply. There was nothing they could do to restore ShadowClan's faith in the warrior ancestors. Even J-Paw's plan to fake a sign from StarClan didn't hold out much hope now that they'd heard how much Soul had poisoned ShadowClan against the code. Lineblaze shook his head. His amber eyes were uneasy. I don't know. Tell us more about Soul, J-Paw prompted. Does he...
Hey, I look like you, don't I?
Tigerpaw interrupted, stretching out a paw to compare his golden pelt with Lineblaze's.
That must be because we share kin.
That's right, Lineblaze mewed, giving the smaller cat's ear a friendly lick. Your mother and our father were littermates.
Tigerpaw nodded proudly. Tigerstar was their father. I'm named after him. He was the greatest warrior ever.
Lineblaze twitched his ears. We should all try to be the greatest warriors ever. Dawnpaw was gazing up at the high ledge, as if she was waiting for her mother to reappear. Are we gonna join ThunderClan? She asked. She didn't sound enthusiastic. After all, it's where our mother was born. Flamepaw sighed. I don't wanna. Leafpool already has an apprentice. And besides, I want to be the ShadowClan medicine cat. Tigerpaw touched his nose to his brother's ear. I know. I want to fight for ShadowClan. Hollyleaf's heart was torn with sympathy for the three young cats. Of course they all wanted to go home. ShadowClan still held their loyalties, even though everything had changed. A tiny flicker of warmth grew inside her. Soul had tried to destroy the warrior code, but he had failed. It lived on inside these apprentices. Soul couldn't change every cat's mind about what they had believed in for so long. She sank her claws into the wet earth. Somehow, they had to find a way to get rid of Soul and bring ShadowClan back to the way of the clans.
Actually, that's a really good place to stop. It sounds like the end of an episode, you know? It does, doesn't it? All right, let's... And also, our guys are done. Aw, man. Okay. I know. We'll have to wait until next week to keep going.
Oh my gosh, I almost had a heart attack when I was uploading all the Warrior Cat videos from Eclipse because I hadn't properly renamed one of the VODs, so it made it look like I had lost my very first Warrior Cat VOD, and it was like, I was like, oh no, I lost the first part of the Eclipse book. But luckily, it was just under a different name. Cinderbore.
Woohoo! All right, let's see what we've got here.
No, and missing VODs. Name a Morrigan.
That doesn't happen too often. It's only the Rain World that's really bad. Sometimes I think they're just all mixed it up.
Yeah, it is scary. I'm mostly scared of my Warrior Cat ones losing because I really want to have all of them completely, alive.
I know, it's literally the most important moment.
My greatest regret. Never being able to show you guys what I did to Moon.
Did I wind up having to reread part of a book at one point? I can't remember. I don't think I did,
but I have thought of it.
Anyways. So yeah, tomorrow. Probably a later stream. Which is sad because then I'm not sure I'll be able to finish Ultra Kill. I guess we'll see. Depending on what I am scheduled, because I might go in tomorrow and they might give me more hours, like the rest of my schedule, and then I'll know if I'm working the same amount of time on Friday and when would be a better time to stream Ultra Kill, if there even is a better time, and if not, would I do it tomorrow? Yeah, etc. But I'll figure it out. Luckily, all what I'm gonna be doing is putting up signs because, oh my gosh. So after the security breach, right? We still had ads to go, like, you know, sales. Sales still technically started during that time that the store was closed. So we're like behind so many signs. Like the whole store needs to be like audited to make sure if they are missing any signs. I hope you have a lovely night and a wonderful day tomorrow. I had fun and I'll see you all most likely next week. Yeah! I'm so happy you dropped by, Saki. It's so nice to see you in my Warrior Cat streams. Hey, can I go to twitch.com? .tv? Sorry. Twitch.tv. .ca. Every time I see I'm only sleeping, I don't know how many people in chat right now was there, but the very first time, once I rated someone who was I'm only sleeping, and I was like, oh, they're playing a game called I'm only sleeping. That's cool. And I rated into them, and then I realized that they were just literally sleeping. And I was like, oh. Yes, I'll try my best to be here next week. I just get so many. No worries, no worries. It's just it's like a little surprise. Like when you find an extra chicken nugget in your chicken nugget bag. It's like, oh my god, Saki's here. Alright, let's raid into a Stardew Valley stream. So many people are playing Hades, and I don't want to raid into someone that might spoiler you guys if you are part of that, you know, gaming world. Chicken nuggies! When I eat chicken nuggets specifically from McDonald's, I feel like I'm 10 years old. Like, it has such an intense taste of my childhood, because when I was young, we used to always get Happy Meals because of the toys, right? The toys were so good. And so we would always have a lot of McDonald's. And then eventually we stopped. We got like quote unquote old enough to not want Happy Meals anymore. So we stopped having them. And so now when I have a chicken nugget, it's like I haven't had them in a year between each chicken nugget. Those were the days. All right, raid. Raid. Oh! Poppy? Alright guys, I'll see you when I see you! Hopefully tomorrow, and if not, then hopefully on Friday. Oh. Have a lovely night, you too! Everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to our Warrior Cat adventure journey. You know, there are games in the Edge. What the? Since when have there been games in Microsoft Edge's sidebar? That's so weird. Guys, is it just me, or do you think it's really weird when you go on YouTube on your like iPad or something, and then they have like a games section? Like, what is this? I want to watch YouTube, not play games. Why are there mobile games here? Huh? So weird. Anyways. Bye-bye, guys! Bye-bye! You get that on your TV, too? Yeah, I think it's only on certain things. Like, TVs and iPads, I get it the most. But that might just be because I only have a TV and an iPad that is linked to Apple. It could be, like, in the phones. Okay, you're 10 seconds away. Bye, guys!